Streaming. Look what I have to deal with here, guys. Look what I'm dealing with here. Look at this little guy. You see this little guy that I'm dealing with? Mr. Milo's in the house. Mr. Milo, you're in the house. How you guys doing? Hope you're doing well. Milo's looking at me like, oh my god, he's talking to me. And I am kind of talking to you, Milo. You're a good boy. Yeah, it's here, guys. I've got Milo back. Yes, sir. Led, how you doing, bud? Good to see you. I'm getting started 5 minutes early today. Oh, I should hit this button. Go live. Hopefully it doesn't mess up. TikTok's been messing up a lot recently when I do this. Yeah, I don't know why it does this. So now I got to spend the first minute of my every stream fixing this stupid... I set it up so that I get the right background, and then it just messes up and gives me a really dumb background. I don't understand why it does it. Yeah, right. Effects. Like, I gotta get that figured out, because it's like, I like this one better. I'm gonna do it. I gotta get that figured out, because it's just eating up time at the beginning where I want to get things started and I want to get things off to the races. But instead I gotta dicker with this, and it's real dumb. Alright, hopefully this works. There we go. 3, 2, 1. New train derailment in Alabama. Compton. Coming in hot. I didn't even see that. Must have just happened. New train derailment in Alabama by the same rail company. Are you effing kidding me, man? Like, how many train derailments do we need to see? Before we recognize, like, these guys gotta be nationalized. Zach, good to see you, bud. Like the stream, guys. I'm gonna be saying it a lot more recently. I'm sick and tired of getting like 60 to 100 views on my videos with like 10 likes. Like, we can get more. I can get more. I just got to tell you to do it, and then you guys got to do it. We're fighting the algorithm. You guys can do it. Hopefully, you guys are doing well out there in TikTok land. What are we doing here? Alabama derailment. Like, are you kidding me? Norfolk Southern CEO. Norfolk Southern train derails in Alabama. Hours before CEO testifies before Congress. Literally, the CEO is going to go testify before Congress, and another train derailment happens. These guys need to have this taken away from them. Like, this if ever there was a case for nationalization, you're looking at it. You're looking right at it. You're honestly telling me right now that this organization, Norfolk Southern, should continue existing as a privatized train company? No. No. I think that if you take that position, you're demented. I think that there's something wrong with you, like you've drank lead or something. Like, you gotta stop participating. Like, go find the people you've been arguing with and apologize, and then shut your mouth and listen to what they have to say. Like, that's the level of how despicable it would be at this point to actually pretend as though, yeah, well, things happen. Norfolk Southern, capitalism is the best way to innovate. And it would happen even with the organized, like, it's so flippin' dumb. There just comes a point where it's like, are we? Yeah. First of all, thank you, Zach. I love the shirt. Yeah, this is my I'm doing laundry shirt. So I'm doing laundry as we're speaking. Yes. So who lives on a pineapple under the sea? SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob SquarePants. An absolutely scathing indictment of the system of capital. So go watch SpongeBob SquarePants with that in your mind, and you'll see it right away. That, like, oh yeah, this is like a brutal indictment of the system of capitalism. And Cotton, yeah, it's downright funny at this point. Like, what's funny about it is how incapable the system of capital seems to be to find the obvious, overt, very clear solution to this obvious, overt, very clear problem. Like, this is the great failing of American capitalism. The great failing of American capitalism is that it refuses to put a square peg in a square hole. It's like watching a baby with one of those little boxes where there's like a square hole and a circle hole and a triangle hole, and the baby's got the little shapes, and it's just eating them. Like, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a little baby just like chewing on a thing and refusing to put it in the hole, even though it would solve the problem. Like, this, Doom to Bloom, good to see you, bud. Absolute pleasure. Please like the stream. The obvious solution here, and if you don't think this, there is something wrong with your brain, is to take this company away from these people. Like, at the very least, at the barest of minimums, this company needs to cease operations. Like, this company can no longer exist as a company. I mean, it's become very, very, very obvious that must be the case. That there's no concessions bargaining. There's no position that you can take to justify this. We're looking at what, like 4 derailments in 2 months, one of which included an enormous chemical spill that people were describing as a Chernobyl-level event. Like, this company should be prevented from operating, and if it's in the national interest to keep them operating, then they should be nationalized. And we literally should be doing 0 derailments. Like, 0 derailments. We should have 0 of those. And, who in their right mind is still defending this system of capital? Watching this. Like, do you guys get that in China there's like 200,000, 300,000 kilometers of high-speed rail? And the rail that exists in America, the reason why they're derailing, the reason why these derailments are happening is because trains are going over rail that was put down during the Civil War. Like, this is what we're talking about. That, like, other countries are putting forward, like, high-tech, high-speed magnetic rail that's, like, making rail go, like, at, like, 600 kilometers an hour. And the rail that exists in America is rail that they put up during the Civil War, and they're taking deadly chemicals that explode if jostled too much and making them go over like this. And, like, the sound that it makes when it's going, it's like, what do you think? Why do you think this is happening? Like, and the infrastructure is falling apart. The rail cars themselves are falling apart. The people responsible for doing inspections are literally attempted to go on strike in order to prevent exactly this. The workers were saying, there are going to be catastrophes. We are going to experience derailments. We are going to see it. It is coming. We are going on strike because we refuse to participate in this. And Joe Biden, President of the United States, said, nah, you can't strike. Get back to work. It's in the national interest that you work on these derailment projects. And that's what these are now. These are derailment projects. Like, there just comes a point where we have to start thinking, like, are our leaders actually trying to poison us? Like, is this what we're looking at? Like, it's not about transporting goods. If it was about transporting goods, we'd be like, oh yeah, we got to stop these derailments. But it seems like the purpose, it seems like the point is to have derailments. That it seems like the point is to poison the people at this point. And I can't think of any other explanation outside of some, like, fictional novel where they're literally trying to, like, open portals from hell so that demons can come, and they're trying to make this environment more accommodating to demons. Like, it's the only thing that makes any fucking sense anymore. Like, that's how ridiculous it's gotten. That's how senseless all of this has become. That there's no rationale anymore. There's no reason. I hope you have a great weekend too, Stas. I had a really good day today, honestly. I had a really, really good day today. I feel like things went really well for me today. So I'm in a pretty good mood, honestly. I'm in a pretty good mood, and I hope that carries. Or I've got tomorrow off. I'm going to have a nice, relaxing day. I don't feel so sick anymore. I can tell that if I get, like, one good night of sleep, that if I can get one good night of sleep, and if that good night of sleep is tonight, then tomorrow is going to be a great day, and I'm going to wake up and I'm going to work out and I'm going to have a good day tomorrow, and I can really, really tell like it's going to happen. So I'm so sick and tired of being sick and tired, man. I'm so sick and tired of being sick and tired. Grinning, good to see you. Please, guys, like the stream. Like the stream. I'm gonna say it way more often because I'm sick and tired of seeing like my videos with like 100 views and like 10 likes. Like, come on. Trying to grow this channel, trying to get more traction, right? And it just seems like it's working. Like the TikTok thing is working. Hope you guys are doing well out there in TikTok land, right? What do we got? He's not Hill Root. Yeah, what do you think of the two Canadian Communist parties? I mean, mainly dismantled. The Matthias, so many simps for Galen Weston, mad at Jugmeat for daring question Loblaw's record profits. Yeah, exactly. My favorite thing about that story, right? Because yesterday, Galen Weston goes in front of a Canadian panel. Galen Weston assures Canadians record profits are not from food, but from medicine, clothing, and other basic human necessities. My absolute favorite thing about this is that Galen Weston's defense is essentially, well, I'm only making $1 for every $25 that we sell. You're a multi-billion-dollar company, dude. It's not about your, like, he's trying to make it seem as though it's like, oh, let's, you know, our profit margins are so thin. Like, he's making $4 for every $100, right? And he's selling hundreds of billions of dollars of product. Like, the guy is basically staring you in the face, admitting that he's a parasite that does nothing of value, and telling you how much money he siphons away from the system, being a parasite, and just says, yeah, this is how it works. This is how it is, right? And my other favorite part about this story is that he's pretending like it's external pressures. He's pretending like it's external pressures, that he's like, oh, we gotta raise our prices because prices are going up. He literally owns the entire distribution chain. Like, what is it that's going up in price, right? It's just him raising prices. Like, it's his own companies raising prices on his own companies, and we're all just supposed to buy this idea. Like, the guy's the 17th richest person. Like, this is what's so fucking baffling to me. Like, he's like the 17th, I believe it's the 17th richest person, and we're all supposed to take what this guy says seriously when he stands up and says, no, I'm not profit gouging. He's obviously profit gouging. And he sat down in front of us and described the method by which he is gouging us, and then said, but that's how it is. This is normal. It's completely normal to gouge people this way. This is a complete normal thing to experience. Like, the guy is so, like, demented and out of touch with reality. Like, and he doesn't care. Like, he doesn't actually care. That's the other thing. Like, he doesn't care. He doesn't care if you're poor. He doesn't care if you're dying. He doesn't care if you're starving. He doesn't care. He cares about more money for himself. Like, it's really, really obvious that's what he cares about. And what I thought was so despicable about this whole thing was how much the people, with the exception of Jagmeet Singh, who actually, like, seems as though he understands his brand, right? He can't just go in there and jerk off Galen Weston the way that everybody else did. Everybody else is literally jerking Galen Weston off. These grocery store chains should be nationalized. We should get rid of them. We should get rid of them. Like, we should get rid of private grocery chains. We should be nationalizing these. It should be in the public interest to have food available to the public. Like, this is just craziness what we're doing. Just absolute craziness. Look at Dizzy, good to see you, that guy. Good to see you, bud. Make sure you like the stream, guys. Yeah, how about you open the book, Galen? Didn't think so. And, like, and of course, most Canadians are just, like, not putting up with this, right? We got an article here. I understand how hard it is for so many Canadians. Galen West estimated worth of $8.7 billion in response to question from Jagmeet Singh about his company's record profits and the bonuses he enjoys while people struggle to pay for basic groceries at his grocery stores. So Galen Weston refused to answer questions from his shoppers, posed by Jugmeat, after saying he answers questions from his shoppers, then pleading poverty $1 on a $25 purchase. He's worth $8.7 billion, 17th wealthiest man in the world. Yeah, hashtag greedflation. Yeah, Galen Weston says he only makes $1 off a basket of 25. Does he think we are stupid? Like, this is the thing, is that you've got to be stupid to fall for this line. Oh, I'm only making $1 if you spend $25. Dude, you're like $100 billion organization. Like you're making fuck tons of money. Like an unbelievable, ungodly smorgasbord of money. And the idea that we should just accept that your prices are going up. And this guy is sitting in front of us saying, oh, I'm making like $4 for every $100, so a 4% profit margin. But when they talk to themselves, I've read articles on this stream, when they talk to themselves, it goes up as high as 10%. So he's lying to somebody, right? He's either lying to his own investors, he's either lying to his own shareholders, or he's lying to you, right? And maybe it's both. Because the guy's just like, once again, oh, hey, we have another fucking capitalist fraud. Big surprise. Big surprise. Yet another fraudulent capitalist. Yeah, he keeps saying profits are up, but margins are normal. It's amazing how anyone could buy into that BS. Yeah, but we do. Like, we do. Like, there are, like, lots of simps, man. Like, there are lots of simps. People who genuinely will look you in the face and be like, Galen Weston's a hard-working guy. He climbed the meritocracy, right? Like, literally born a billionaire, handed an empire for being for happening to be the child of Galen Weston Sr. Like, and we're all just supposed to be like, oh yeah, this is a normal and legitimate way to run a society. A normal, legitimate way to run a society is to hand multi-billion-dollar corporations over to the children of the people who ostensibly created them. Like, explain to me how this is different than just divine right. Explain to me how that's different than divine right. That, like, oh, Galen Weston Jr., we bestow upon thee the largest grocery corporation in Canada. You shall be Emperor Weston, owner of Loblaws and No Frills and Shoppers. Like, and we just accept this? This is a normal thing for a society? Like, didn't people, like, literally fight wars and, like, decapitate people over getting rid of the concept of the divine right of kings? And here it is right in front of us. Like, Weston didn't earn shit. He's a dumb dunder and a bad liar and a complete fraud who had everything handed to him. Like, if you're literally trying to stand in front of me and say that capitalism's about meritocracy, then you're a fucking idiot. Like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, if you're a Jordan Peterson stan, you're a dummy. Here's the clearest possible example of that being false you could possibly ever see in your life. And yet we're all just like, yeah, this makes sense. Yeah, it's a good way to organize a society. All the cons so mad about Trudeau dodging questions had nothing to say when Galen Weston does the same. Well, the conversation that's going on right now at the highest level of Canada is literally all about this Chinese interference. It's all anybody can talk about in our media right now, and it's annoying. Like, it's so obviously just distraction. It's let's write a bunch of articles about fundamentally nothing. Like, here's literally every article that's being published right now. China bad. Justin like China. Justin bad. Like, that's it. That's literally every article. And we're all supposed to have, like, big, robust conversations about this. We're all supposed to be like, oh, wow, Globe and Mail said Justin bad because China bad, but Justin like China. Like, that's the dumbest fucking thing you can possibly think. And yet this is what the discourse has become. That we're supposed to take seriously the idea that there was legitimate interference by the Chinese in our elections, even though there's no fucking evidence of it, outside of CSIS throwing shade, because CSIS has never lied in the history of its existence, ever. Like, if they had pitched it at us and the populace had gone, nah, probably not. I'd be like, yeah, get fucked. Like, it's so ridiculous. But it's not what's happened. That the populace is like, oh, China's bad because they have embassies in Canada, and those embassies will help Chinese Canadian citizens get to the polls and vote for people they like. Like, what? Like, how is that even meddling? Like, how is that even meddling? Like, it's the dumbest story I've ever heard. Even dumber, frankly, than the balloon shit. Right? Even dumber than the balloon shit. But we're just not capable of having reasonable conversations anymore. Right? We're just not capable of having rational conversations anymore, so we have to talk about something. Like, it's what's kind of becoming annoying about doing this channel, honestly. Like, it's kind of what's becoming a little bit annoying about doing this channel. Is like, this is what you're talking about? This is what the Globe and Mail is talking about? This is what the National Post is talking about? This is what the Toronto Star is talking about? This is what we're all supposed to waste any amount of time and any amount of brain cells and any amount of thought actually talking about? Is China interfered with our elections? Do you have any evidence for that? No, but they did. Like, that's the conversation. It's just more Russiagate shit. And we're just supposed to buy it. But the thing is that we do. Like, that's the best part. That's the best part. And if you stand up and say how stupid it is, oh, why do you move to China? Why do you just move to China then if you love China so much? It's like, fuck, it's not about loving China. It's just about being a rational, reasonable person. It's about having a fucking brain in your head and actually thinking like, oh, like, did China actually interfere? Well, we don't have any evidence of it. Oh, so moving on, right? Like, moving on. Like, I don't give a shit about I don't give a shit about your speculative nonsense. Like, we could do speculative nonsense to the moon and back. Like, we could literally be like, yeah, Iran meddled in our elections. Sure, why not? Like, yeah, we here at CSIS have credible evidence to show that Iran sent flyers to Iranian citizens saying that they would like this candidate, and those Iranian Canadian citizens decided to go along with what those flyers said. And so it's interference on a level that's unprecedented in the country. Like, it's so fucking dumb. Like, it's dumb. And I'm just, I'm honestly really struggling with, like, people will, on TikTok, it'll happen all the time. People will, like, try to call in or whatever, right? I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to talk to these fucking people. I don't want to talk to people who are literally like, no, but China. No, but China, really, it's a serious thing. This is a serious thing that we seriously need to spend all this time seriously having a serious conversation about, because it's very serious that China's seriously doing this serious thing that there's no evidence of whatsoever. It's obviously just a fraud. Like, obviously a fraud. Like, oh, the liars are lying again? Yeah, big fucking shock. And we're all just like, China bad. China bad. China bad. The only glimmer of light in that story is that we have... Oh, come on now. I had it. It was right here. This is going to be a great transition. Yeah. From CNBC, U.S. says it doesn't want to separate its economy from China. Like, a little shred of rationale. Anemone, good to see you. Good opportunity to say like the stream, guys. Please like the stream. The U.S. is pushing back on the idea it wants to suppress China and said it doesn't want to separate the two economies, according to a State Department spokesman's comments. The spokesperson was responding to a CNBC request for comment on Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gang's remarks Tuesday. King claimed U.S. calls for establishing guardrails on the relationship meant that China should not react. King also said that the U.S. needed to hit the brake to prevent conflict with China. We have made it clear we do not seek to contain China or have a new Cold War, the U.S. State Department spokesperson said. Now, I think they're full of shit. Like, I obviously think they're full of shit. But it's nice to hear that the U.S. State Department is at least saying out loud, yeah, that's a bad idea. Like, maybe they have learned something about recent history. Maybe they have learned something about recent history. Maybe recent history has revealed to them oh, if we act this way, it's a total fuck up. Oh, it totally fucks us over, right? And there are terrifying things on the horizon in this conflict, right? U.S. treasuries owned by China. China is selling U.S. treasuries at an increasingly rapid rate because China is bracing for a war. So the U.S. State Department is saying, oh yeah, we're not interested in a war. Meanwhile, they're building nuclear submarines off the coast of China. Like, how serious do we take this stuff? Like, how serious do we take? We don't take it seriously at all. Like, that's the reason I have a channel. Like, we're an unserious people doing unserious things. And if you stand up and say, maybe we should think about these things seriously, maybe we should be more critical, then you're a China stan or a Putin apologist or something, right? Like, that's how it is. Oh, I know, Milo. I love you too, buddy. I love you too, buddy. My little dog is like extra affectionate right now because he's like super, he misses me. I haven't seen him for a while. Yes, I haven't seen him for a while. I keep hearing about the Isle of Man in relation to Taiwan. Is there a new narrative starting? Not really. It's like the same shit, right? Like Taiwan, the people of Taiwan are actually moving towards independence. Like the general sentiment on the Isle of Taiwan is a move towards independence more and more as time goes forward because, people can make bad decisions for themselves. China's not going to tolerate that for obvious reasons because they know that independence means alliance with the West and they're not going to permit that to happen. Like, that's not real. America, of course, is banging on this drum of saying out loud and expecting to be taken seriously that, Taiwan is an independent country. Yeah, Taiwan, it's an independent country, even though we ourselves have been saying that it's part of China since Nixon. Like, so nothing really has changed in that in the narrative that I've been seeing, but I'm sure the United States is going to try anything it can to get a war going. Lying to shareholders is illegal. Lying to the public is sport. Yeah, absolutely. The statements of the U.S. State Department are largely meaningless, though. Yeah, they have lost a lot of power. Yeah, there is truth to that. Like, and it's not like the State Department is interested in diplomacy. Like, it's not the U.S. State Department's idea of diplomacy is let's arm a bunch of Nazis. Like, that's how they think. The real center of power in America, at least since Trump, has been the military. Absolutely. USA is trying to play innocent while Taiwan pops off. Absolutely. So I have an article here that I've been wanting to read on stream for a little while from Rainer Shea. Absolute gem. Absolute amazing author. Everything this guy says, I've been like, yep, that sounds right. I'm yet to even find one thing that I disagree with this guy on. So if you want to read more of his stuff, you can find him, rainershea.substack.com. This is even after U.S. empire's vileness has been fully exposed, its agents keep upholding the cult of NATO. There's an explanation for why even after the United States has been exposed 1,000 times over as a perpetrator of war crimes, and its ruling institutions have betrayed its own people by engineering horrors like the Ohio chemical spill, there are still actors who uphold the lies that let it continue committing these evils. That explanation is found in The Denial of Death, the legendary psychological science book that Ernst Becker wrote in response to learning he was dying. On why human beings defend unjust systems, the conclusion Becker came to was that their goal is to defy their limited lifespan by advancing something they hope can be made immortal. Our heroic projects that are aimed at destroying evil have the paradoxical effect of bringing more evil into the world. Human conflicts are life and death struggles. My gods against your gods. My immortality project against your immortality project. The root of humanly caused evil is not man's animal nature, not territorial aggression or innate selfishness, but our need to gain self-esteem. deny our mortality, and achieve a heroic self-image. Our desire for the best is the cause of the worst. Our heroic projects that are aimed at destroying evil have the paradoxical effect of bringing more evil into the world. Human conflicts are life and death struggles. My gods against your gods. My immortality project against your immortality project. The root of humanly caused evil is not man's animal nature, not territorial aggression or innate selfishness, but our need to gain self-esteem, deny our mortality, achieve a heroic self-image. Our desire for the best is the cause of the worst. We want to clean up the world, make it perfect, keep it safe for democracy or communism, purify it of the enemies of God, eliminate evil, establish an alabaster city undimmed by human tears, or a 1,000-year Reich. Because Becker's chosen job was not to become the best at class analysis, his perspective was limited in a way which led him to the common liberal view that communism is merely another religion. Should he have had the opportunity to discover how many medical advancements, environmental benefits, transportation innovations, and poverty reduction successes communism has brought in, spite of its historical errors, he may have come to think differently. As a resident of the Imperial Center, it was clear the main thing he aimed to condemn was how the drivers of his society have ostensibly invested themselves in upholding a system that's indefensible. The United States was and is the greatest instigator of violence on the planet. It's extended its original indigenous genocide into a project to subjugate the entire formerly colonized world, a project that's taken tens of millions of lives throughout dozens of invasions, and those are only one category of its atrocities. The USA coups, carried out to protect corporate interests, have brought about dictatorships and pseudo-democratic regimes that are collectively behind many millions more murders. Mass incarceration, the militarized police who execute citizens in public, the unaccountable war on terror prison network, and our government's other tools for inflicting violence on its own people are the logical conclusions of this campaign to maintain profits by sacrificing lives, as are the policies of warfare upon the working class that our ruling oligarchs have been progressively imposing for the last half-century. In an effort to maintain the system as it's entered into an unprecedented stage of crisis, these elites have created a situation where the people fall into perpetually deeper poverty, while law enforcement gets ever more tools for terrorizing them. The combination of catastrophes that people are experiencing, toxic... All right. Milo wants to get in on the action, guys. Milo wants to get in on the action. I can't stop him. I can't stop him. I can't stop him. What's the URL to read this? Her says her legs. Here, I'll just put it in the stream. Here, hold on. Sorry, guys. Interrupted by Pug. Pug interruptus. Can't be helped. Can't be helped. Okay, buddy. Okay, buddy. Sit down. Sit down. Okay, we're back. Toxic industrial accidents, climate disasters, an unprecedented new economic crisis, a pandemic with more fatalities in America than anywhere else are the system's fault too. Our government has betrayed us in favor of the corporations that own it, condemning us to a crisis that we're already made unequipped for. This is a social system that's more than morally bankrupt. It's a system that didn't need to be corrupted in the first place, as it's always existed to advance profits above all else. The system's partisans defend their support for it by pointing to how capitalism is a historical improvement upon the previous social order. But even Marx, Engels, and other major communists have recognized this, agreeing with how capitalism advanced society beyond feudalism, and how the 1776 revolution was progressive in its context. And these facts don't negate their thesis, which is that at this stage in history, capitalism is in the reactionary force and socialism is what can bring civilization to the next stage. Communists hold the dialectical view that whatever relative good the present order represents at one point, it's since outlived its usefulness. The upholders of the discredited liberal order insist that it's not discredited, as they leave out this context and claim capitalism brought the final developmental stage. It's possible for those who benefit from the bourgeois order to embrace the dialectical view and fight for the rights of the proletariat in opposition to their own material interests. Engels was from a bourgeois family. Castro dispossessed his own family of land as part of his revolutionary program. Mao chose to be a revolutionary despite having had the opportunity to ascend the capitalist hierarchy. Whether one helps reaction or progress is a question of priorities. Do you care more about your immediate material benefits, or more about freeing the people from exploitation and subjugation? Those upholding NATO and its propaganda narratives, who include not just conservatives and liberals but leftists as well, have chosen the selfish path. They claim to merely care about stopping autocrats and protecting sovereignty or human rights. But if this were true, they wouldn't be working to aid the United States. Their true concern is whether the imperial project survives and is allowed to continue robbing the global south. That's why Washington provoked Russia into intervening, because it wanted a war which weakens Russia enough that it collapses, leaving China vulnerable in the great power competition, and thereby keeping Washington in control of its neo-colonies. The goal of theirs to establish Eurasia has at this point been proven unrealistic, so much that I barely need to keep reiterating it. The IMF is predicting Russia's economy will grow, and that alone represents defeat for the empire on the geopolitical chessboard. For a while, the empire's narrative managers were promising that Russia's unexpected ability to withstand the sanctions will ultimately prove temporary. But when the empire's own prime neo-colonial economic institution has admitted Russia is resilient to this degree, those claims simply aren't plausible. China, Russia, Iran, and the other challengers to American hegemony will continue building a new order which makes the imperial project untenable. And for its desperate efforts to reverse this trend, in geopolitical terms, the empire will get nothing besides an accelerated disappearance of its influence. In this situation, where the immortality project they've chosen to fight for is in terminal decline, the cult of NATO's agents have not chosen the correct path. They won't give up on imperialist opportunism and join the fight for proletarian revolution. They'll continue to promote the lies the empire concocts to try to appear credible, even after revelations like the one about how the US side blew up Nord Stream. They'll keep accepting payments, whether monetary, social, or in terms of career opportunities, to narratively fight against the anti-imperialist movement. This is how these actors can keep benefiting from the system, and by extension, from the record oil profits the Ukraine war has provided the system, through price gouging, monopolization, arms profiteering, and further austerity. Our corporate rulers are finding ways to keep their parasitic arrangement alive, following the fall of the US empire. An economic system doesn't go away until it's exhausted every means to stay in existence. The only way capitalism can function at this stage is by driving the people into destitution, while allying with fascists to wage war against the people. This is the future that NATO's agents have doomed us to. We can only gain our freedom by forcing them and their corporate masters out of power. Yeah, dude. I love it. I love it. Raiders newsletter. To the person who's trying to call me on TikTok, dude, come over to YouTube. I don't just let random people talk on my stream because I end up with a lot of Nazis. Like, that's the long and short of it. I end up talking to a lot of Nazis, right? And I don't want to. Very, very simple. I'm not interested in having a conversation with a Nazi. So if you are a Nazi, don't even bother coming on over. If you don't think you are a Nazi, come on over. We'll see. Got a lot of people who think they're liberals that end up being just fascists. Oh yeah, man. I have for sure been shadow banned on TikTok, man. Like, I'm getting like I remember a time when I would have like 400 viewers by now, right? I think it happened when they banned Midwestern Marks again. They banned his account again, and I think that they've just done like a blanket. So if you're a socialist or a communist of any sort, they've just like blanket done a big shadow ban across the board. So gotta find a new way to try to grow the channel. I think it's time to bite the bullet and just pay for the multi-stream service. I think that's what it's gonna have to be. Grinning says, just to recommend, Yanis Varoufakis interviewed David Wengrow about humanity's ancient communistic social relations. About an hour. Groundbreaking. David Graeber did work on it before he died. Oh, interesting. The Davids of the world coming together, right? Trying to actually move the bar a little bit. Like, here is a serious article. I'm not going to read it, obviously, because it's just so fucking unhinged. From Yves Angler. Not only did Chinese Communist Party get Trudeau elected, but former conservative leader Aaron O'Toole was ousted in Beijing's orchestrated coup. This is Terry Glavin is unhinged. Terry Glavin writing, Beijing could not abide tough on China O'Toole. Like, we're constantly seeing the rise of these ridiculous counter-narratives because the narrative that we have experienced a corporate coup d'etat is so obvious and apparent to anyone that we need to come up with some kind of boogeyman. We need to come up with some kind of narrative that makes sense of the world in any kind of way. And if you're a person who's not paying attention, i.e. the vast majority of the populace, or if you're a fascist, which is an extremely large group of the populace, fascism is the most popular ideology by a lot. You take a look at Peterson, for God's sakes. And you find pretty quickly that the narrative that, hey, we've experienced a corporate coup d'etat needs to be pushed aside and replaced with, the problem is China. China's interfering. China's interfering with us. That's the real problem. Urban Chaos Girl, good to see you. Marcus Smith, good to see you. Please like the stream, guys. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Let me take a look. I got 16 people right now. I've got 41 views. I've only got 13 likes. Come on, hit the like buttons, guys. Please hit the like button. It's easy to do. It's free to do. It doesn't cost a thing. If this channel is going to grow at all, that's how it's going to grow. Presuming I'm not just completely banned. Dude, you don't want that. You don't want to eat that. That's not food. That's not food. Marcus, my comment shows up on mine, but not your screen. Hope you're doing well. I like the haircut. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Danarchist. I appreciate that. Good to see you, bud. Anemone, good to see you. Wish I could triple like. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, Anemone. It's... I know it seems like it's nothing, right? Like, it does seem... And it seems so just like... Is it meaningful? Does it have meaning? Is this something that's actually going to matter? But it's something that can be done. So, fucking do it. Right? Here's a great tweet that I wanted to share. 20 years ago, working as a server, I lived in a corner one-bedroom apartment downtown with amazing water views for $700 a month. A similar apartment now, $3,600 a month, more than 5 times as much. As a lawyer at age 47, I am unable to afford living in the apartment I did at age 27 while waiting tables. Like, the quote-unquote get a job crowd are lunatics now. Like literal lunatics. And we should treat them as such. We should literally call them lunatics to their faces. Because it would be like saying to a person who's been thrown into the middle of the ocean, just swim harder. Just swim harder. Yeah. From a boat. That you're screaming down from a boat full of dinghies and life rafts. Just swim harder. Just swim harder. There just comes a point where you have to admit that it's cruelty. Right? That it's just cruelty. You have to use all messages for chat. YouTube censors a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to come up with analogies anymore. Like, the situation is so fucking dumb. Like, it's so ridiculous, the situation that we live in, where we have all these resources, we've built all of this infrastructure, we have this society that we're living in, and we just refuse to share it. We've literally allowed small groups of corporate psychopaths to hoard the housing, and all of the jobs are just like pathetic loser bullshit that who gives a fuck. We're like shuffling lattes around to one another. Like, that's what we're doing, right? That's what we're doing. Yeah, jobs are for losers. We've all been forced to be losers. Like, you're either doing paperwork for psychopaths or you're serving them food. Like, that's literally what we're up to. It's just ridiculous. Chonktown. Love it, dude. I love this name. Chonktown. Every time I see it, I'm just like, yes, Chonktown. The intellectual age is over. The time of the pitchfork is here. I see no other way out of subjugation. Yeah, this is essentially my thesis. Like, this is the thesis of this entire channel. Is that the only way we're actually going to see, even move the needle. Forget about having a revolution and like changing it, but the only way we're going to even move the needle is if we surround the halls of power en masse. And more I'm getting to be like, it's not the halls of power, it's these people's houses. Like, and I'm not talking about Justin Trudeau's house, I'm talking about Galen Weston's house. Like, these people need to understand that what they're doing is unacceptable. They need to, and honestly, they need to not have power. Like, I don't know why we're ceding all of this power to these overt, crazed lunatics who are obviously just detached sociopaths. Like, how is it that we actually genuinely think that people like Justin Trudeau, Pierre Poilievre, even Jagmeet Singh are serious, credible leaders when they refuse to even stand up to the most basic, like, hey, maybe we should nationalize some of this shit. Hey, maybe we should make systems where people have access to food and shelter. Like, I don't take any of our leaders seriously at all. Like, 0%. Like, negatives. Like, if Justin Trudeau stands up and says something, I go, okay, I'm like negative 100% on that. I'm just going to take the opposing view because that'll probably be right. And then if Pierre Poilievre stands up and says something, I'm like, yeah, he's probably a fascist, so I'm just going to take the opposing view and probably be right as well. Because these guys are such fraudulent, overwhelming liars, and with no credibility whatsoever. Like, my favorite thing is the NDP keep putting out like little like success stories. Oh, look, the NDP, they wanna offer a free pill to somebody. And I'm literally like, I'm paying 70% of my income to rent. I'm paying 70% of my income to rent. Like, the NDP is an unserious party of losers that cannot put two and two together and be like, maybe we should lower the rent. Maybe we should just say, hey, lower the rent. No, won't be done because they work for these people. That's the long and short of it. They work for these people. They're not interested in standing up against them. They work for them. They're not interested in saying, oh, excuse me, Mr. Weston, lower the prices. Like that, they're not interested in that. All they're gonna do is cart Galen Weston in front of us and have him go, oh yeah, I'm outright pilfering from you people, and you should expect that that's a thing. That's normal for us to do, and you should be thankful that we're pilfering from you. And they're gonna go, oh, good point. And that's all that's gonna happen. Like, it's all that's gonna happen. Our political class is gutless and toothless. The entire political class. Meanwhile, the populace seems dead convinced that the way forward is definitely to vote for one of these losers, is to definitely stand up and be like, you know what? I don't think that Justin, he's a Chinese guy. I'm going to vote for Poilievre, and that things will definitely get better then. We're just dumb. Like, we're just dumb as a people. Like, and it just more and more is feeling like that's the point, that we're supposed to be dumb. I mean, for God's sakes, like, we have, I had a great article. Is it right in front? Yeah. Historic decline in IQ could stem from poor education, study shows. So, you know how I've been talking about how we're stupid? right? One of the three pillars of the decline of Western civilization is our worship of stupidity. That we worship stupidity. We love being stupid. We think being stupid is great. And now we have evidence that actually shows a historic decline in IQ. A recent study suggests for the first time in nearly 100 years, Americans' average intelligence quotient is declining. The professors who authored the study theorized that the quality of education could play a role in reversing the IQ gains enjoyed by the previous generations. The study, published in a spring 2023 edition of Intelligence, measures IQ tests among 18 to 60-year-olds to examine the phenomenon first observed by philosopher James Flynn. This might suggest, they continue, that either the caliber of education has decreased across the study sample, or that there's been a shift of the perceived value of certain cognitive skills. The cognitive skill set that people are valuing in today's environment is grifting. That's what it is. You don't need to be particularly intelligent to be a good grifter. You just need to be willing to lie. If you can stand in front of somebody and tell a bald-faced lie, you don't need to be particularly intelligent to do that. You just need to be willing to do it. And the person who you're lying to doesn't need to be stupid to believe that lie. They just need to be trusting. Right? And so intelligence, being at all smart whatsoever, is no longer seen as valuable. And so people aren't doing it. Why should they? It doesn't get them anything. Take a look at what happened to the millennials. We sent all of them into university. What did it fucking do? Nothing. Saddled an entire generation with student debt. Fucked over literally a fourth of them. Saddled them with a debt they can never repay. And now what we've ended up with is a group of people who have money but are stupid. And so they're taking power and they literally sneer at people who have gotten degrees or have any intellectual discourse whatsoever. And we literally are looking at evidence of our decline into stupidity and how we worship stupidity and how much we love being stupid. It's just shocking to watch. Yeah, NDPers are landlords themselves. Yeah, landlords are illegitimate. Yeah, it's ridiculous. French, good to see you, bud. Please like the stream, guys. Please like the stream. We basically have the same haircut and beard now. Fantastic. I'm really glad that I cut my hair, dude. I'm really glad that I cut my hair. I feel like my old haircut was really holding me back. Just like the way I was perceiving myself and the way that I was projecting myself into the world. I feel stronger now. Conrad, I don't know if I've ever seen you here before, Conrad. Good to see you, bud. What is my opinion on the productivity of the GDR, where I was born, and Yugoslavia, where my father was born? That's an incredibly specific question, Conrad, that I probably don't have a good answer for. What is my opinion of the productivity of the GDR, where you were born, and Yugoslavia, where your father was born? That's like a thesis in a thesis. That's like a niche of a niche, dude. I don't know. I appreciate that. But I haven't taken the time to study the productivity of the GDR or Yugoslavia, probably during the period you're talking about. My knowledge of Yugoslavia generally is fairly limited. It's definitely a gap and I'm trying to learn more. I've been learning about Tito. It's pretty clear to me that what happened during Kosovo and what happened during that period of time was that Tito was a communist that was keeping things together. And then when he died, the whole thing started to fray and the West started funding fascists. That looks to me what happened pretty clearly, that the West started funding fascists, and so the fascists started to gain power, and they were able to overwhelm the communist groups and break the country apart. Seems to me what happened. Yeah, landlords don't produce housing, they monopolize it. Landlords don't work for a living. But without landlords, who will scalp shelter? Exactly, get a grip, guys. If we don't have landlords, who's going to scalp the shelter, right? No, landlords are important, guys. Landlords do important service. If it wasn't for landlords, who would we pay money to make sure that, who would we pay 70% of our income to? Like, this is what's so despicable about our current situation. Like, throughout America, people who work minimum wage jobs can't afford the rent. There's no place in America where a minimum wage worker can afford the rent. And there is no movement. There is no movement whatsoever that is actually interested in lowering the rent. Like, I have finally found, like, literally one article. In Kingston, New York, tenants say their survival depends on the city ordering a rent reduction. Something that's never been done before. Like, you're kidding me. You've never had a rent reduction in your country ever. Like, Canada, we have done rent reductions here in the city of Toronto. It has happened. Like, we've seen a reduction of like 10% at one point. Like, we do see it occur from time to time. But the idea that people are not running on this. This is how you know the political class is completely bought. This is how you know the political class is completely fraudulent and has absolutely no credibility whatsoever. That no one is going, I bet that we could run a successful campaign on just saying lower the rent. We could just probably say lower the rent and people would vote for us, right? Like, I'm almost to the point now where I'm starting to be like, maybe I should just run a ticket and just call myself Jonathan Sanderson, lower the rent. I should be the lower the rent party. So that when people go into the booth, they see my name and then they say lower the rent. And they go, yeah, okay. Like, no, they won't do that, obviously. We're too dumb. We're definitely going to keep voting liberal and conservative because we're too dumb to actually do something different. Anti-intellectualism is a hallmark of fascism. Yep. And fascism is the most popular ideology of the day. We love fascism. We're huge. Like, I'll say it over and over and over again, right? The Nazis lost World War II, but fascism won. Fascism is the most popular ideology. It's most clearly articulated by people like Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro. That they are fascists. It's their ideology. It's what they believe. It's what they put forward. This hyper individualism. This perspective that you are a hero of your own story. The idea that institutional power is completely justified and that you have to justify yourself to institutional power, not the other way around, right? Conrad, I thank you for your time, friend. Hey, bud, I'm glad you asked the question. I just want to be clear about that. I'm sorry I wasn't able to answer it more thoroughly for you, bud. But like, there's a lot to know in the world. There's a lot to know, and I don't know everything for sure, and I don't have an opinion on everything because there's too much. There's too much. Grinning says if landlords weren't screwing the public, they could do something useful, like produce food or watch children. Yeah, or literally anything. Like, imagine if landlords had jobs. Imagine the productivity that would actually happen if all of these worthless landlords did something worthwhile with their time. Like, you know, literally do nothing. That would actually be better than being a landlord. Just do nothing. Just straight up sit in a field and stare at the sky. You'd be better off. Yeah, my rent's double than what it should be, but nothing like Canadian extortion by landlords. Yeah, we love it. And it seems like we really are like, yes, daddy, yes. Like, it seems like there is like a weird kind of fetish kink, I think, that liberals have. Like, I really think that liberals are more or less just like, yes, daddy, yes. That they love submitting to the suffering. I think there's just something to it. That liberals are subs and conservatives are doms. And it seems to be the nature of the relationship to the political system. In the Northeast U.S., they are building only luxury condos. Yeah, it's insane. The market cannot possibly be there for it. Yeah, but like, it's all being bought by BlackRock, right? That's the thing. Like, they're not building these in order to actually fill them with people. They're building them to speculate on the market. And so they can take a picture of it and show it to some investor and have the investor go, wow, that's a beautiful space. Yeah, let's buy it. It can only go up. Like, the Germans lost World War II, but Nazism won and survived, yeah. 20 in chat, 22 likes. I like it. That's what I like to see. If John doesn't answer the next question to my satisfaction, I'm going back and revoking all my likes. Oh no! Raise the stakes. Raise the stakes, that guy. Here we go. What's the question? Let's go. Let's get something really obscure. In 1853, in the country of Zambia, one solution could be reducing zone regulations so that alternative housing could be available. You know what, dude? Look, French, I'm gonna say this as nicely as I possibly can because I don't want to alienate you. You're a nice guy. I value your presence and your commentary, but go fuck yourself. I'm fucking with you, dude. Fuck these little tiny reformist bullshit. Like fuck these little tiny reformist ideas, okay? Like, I appreciate it. And maybe it would have like the 1% improvement or whatever. Like, one solution could be reducing zoning regulations so alternative housing could be available. You know what a solution would be? You know what a real solution would be? It would be going to people and saying, hey, you don't have a house, right? How about you get a house? We have a house. It's empty. It's right there. You want it? There. Go get it. It's right there. Oh, you're homeless. You don't have a house? Here's a house. We'll take one of the houses away from the people who are hoarding 1,000 houses and give you one. And if the people who are hoarding houses go, but we say, shut up. Like, and if people are saying, but that'll collapse the housing market. Yeah, good. That's the whole point. Like, that's the whole point. That we shouldn't have a housing market. The more you think about the idea of a housing market, the stupider it gets. That the idea that we should have a commodified market system based on our shelter, an absolute necessity. Like, we might as well commodify the air. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And we should absolutely collapse the housing market. We should literally give houses to homeless people. We should make it so that renters, like, if you've been renting a place for a while, then you just own it. Like, you just own it now. Like, fuck negotiating with these psychopaths. Like, this is the thing that kind of kills me about where we're at as a people. That people really are still in this mindset of, I mean, we do have to negotiate with these overwhelming psychopaths who are trying to destroy us. We probably should negotiate in good faith with these rapacious, serial-killing nightmare psychopaths. That's something we definitely should do. No, we shouldn't. We should take all of their assets away from them. We should remove them from power completely. We should ensure that they have nothing, 0% of anything. We should say to them, you should be grateful you're not in jail. And then also, by the way, we should lock many of them up. Like, this should absolutely be the position of a moderate centrist. The moderate centrist of the society should be saying, take houses, give it to homeless people. That should be the moderate centrist position. And then the far left person should be like, and murder the landlord, right? Like, we're murdering the landlord, right? Obviously. That should be the far left position. But the idea, when did everyone should have housing become like a far left position? When did it become a far left position that everybody should just have housing? Right? When did that fucking happen? Like, Jesus Christ. Marcus, thank you so much for your donation, bud. I really appreciate it, bud. I really do. That makes me feel good. It empowers me. So everything that gets said from now on is Marcus's fault. Simple as that. Simple as that. Now for my most controversial takes. Thank you, Marcus. I appreciate it, bud. Thank you for your donation. Hope you guys are all doing well out there in TikTok land, man. I for sure have been shadow banned out on TikTok land, man. Although the likes are doing really well. It's weird. TikTok's weird, dude. TikTok's weird. I don't even know what to say. Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks. We got a lot of Vosh guys in the chat. I can't imagine why I don't talk to TikTok. This is the commentary. Vosh at home. Ridiculous. Vosh is a loser. Just a pro-imperialist loser. If you're still listening to Vosh, you're probably a loser too. Ugh. If giving away houses would collapse the housing market, then a housing market isn't about supplying homes to those who need homes. For sure. Like, absolutely. Like, but in Emily, it's always what happens in war. Yeah. Housing just shouldn't be accommodated. Yeah. North America is stolen land. There should be no landlords. Yeah, I mean, the concept of landlordism is ridiculous. Like, it's ridiculous. That, like... I live in a very small, not a very small apartment, but a small apartment, right? I should own it. Like it's dumb that there is anyone who exists in the world at all that just owns these sorts of properties and rents them out. Like it's a stupid idea. Like, but again, we worship stupidity. We love being stupid. We're huge mass. The people we listen to are stupid. Our idols are stupid. We love stupidity. We're huge fans of it. As a self-employed person, I'm more convinced that socialized ownership is the solution to capitalism rather than individuating further. I mean, I feel like there's like we could have a structural debate about it, but we can both agree that the idea of one person owning the property and then renting it to another person is a stupid idea. Like, and of course, cue the one guy who's like, but my grandma has a house and she rents out her basement. Not what we're talking about. We don't give a fuck about your grandma renting out a room or something. Like, it's just literally not what we're talking about. Grinning guys, workers should own the factories, and better yet, communities should own the factories. Yep. What's to prevent the new leadership with the expanded power from instantly becoming tyrants? Yeah, I mean, I don't know, dude. Like, of course, new leadership could become tyrants. Like, the idea should be that if we are going to actually surround the halls of power and actually get workers into power and leadership that is actually responding to the needs of the workers into power, that they will be inherently better than people who are just sucking Galen Weston's dick. Like, they can't be worse. Like, they can't be worse. How could they be worse? Like, explain to me how leaders coming in and responding to the needs of the people, because it's the people themselves that are putting them forward, would be worse than these guys who are saying, yes, Mr. Weston. Whatever you say, Mr. Weston. Yes, of course, chicken should be $25, Mr. Weston. Is the bingo sheet ready? I do have the bingo sheet ready. I don't think I have... Nobody's come in and hit anything so far, but... Yeah, fucking Vosh, man. It blows me away that guy is taken seriously at all. He's literally confessed on stream to being an FBI informant. Like, if you're listening to that guy, you are an unserious, stupid person. Like, there's just no two ways about it. I think I listened to Vosh once, and I immediately was just like, oh, this guy sounds dumb. Like, he sounds very dumb. And he doesn't sound... And then you just listen to his positions on the American Empire, and you realize very, very quickly that he's pro-imperialist. He thinks that America is the bee's knees, that his quote-unquote critiques of America are basically like, yeah, we should have free healthcare, right? But he's never going to actually fight for it. Like, he's never actually going to get out and do anything about it, because he's obviously an FBI agent. Like, he's obviously a snitch for the FBI. And how do I know that's true? Because he confessed to it on stream. You can, like, literally watch him confess to it. You're just like, So if you want to go listen to Vosh, yeah, okay, great, go listen to Vosh. But you're listening to an FBI informant, like you're a dupe. Like that's the best part about people who like love Vosh. They're like dupes, and it's more evidence to my point that we worship stupidity. Like you've got to be a stupid person to listen to Vosh and think that he's a serious person because he admits to being an FBI informant on his stream. He's illiterate, a pro-imperialist, and probably a pedophile. Like and yet people are like, yeah, what he says I take very seriously. So it's just a bunch of fucking dummies. Like and we love it. Like we're just like, yeah, this guy definitely should get on CNBC. Like, no wonder we're fucking a declined people. That's why you pre-configure future social relations. You set it out horizontally rather than hierarchy. Here comes the anarchist stuff. Here, I want to see Vosh's tax returns. Somebody gave him a lot of money. Yeah, the FBI. He's a snitch. He admitted to it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is the best part about talking about Vosh. It's like the guy sat in his stupid little chair, looked into his camera, and confessed that during the Occupy movement, he was snitching to the FBI. That he was an FBI informant during the Occupy movement. So obviously the FBI turned around because they saw him as a useful asset because he was snitching on people during Occupy, which he confessed to on stream, and they gave him a bunch of money so that he could do this live stream stuff, and they propel him forward with bots. Like, come on. You gotta be thick to not see this. You gotta be like really thick. He confessed. This is the best part about this guy, is that he's just openly confessed to being an FBI informant. And we're all still just like, yeah, this is a credible person we should definitely listen to. I love it, you know. That's true, you know. Stalin is like Hitler. Hitler and Stalin are basically the same person. I saw it because Vosh said it, and it's certainly not an FBI talking point. Like, we're children, man. We gotta grow up. Like, we just gotta grow up. And then when he says, we all come from the same place and are made the same way, there shouldn't be people who own all the houses. Yeah. Yeah, the idea that we are a randomly generated people, like everybody's randomly generated, nobody knows why you're here, we're all just pop into existence, and you pop into existence and then get told, oh yeah, you gotta prove to that guy that you deserve to have a house. Yeah, that guy there, you need to make sure that he's satisfied or else you don't get to live. Welcome! Like, we're literally creating a weird little hell. Like, this is like a weird little The Bad Place kind of hell. Like, this is like something they would do on that show, The Good Place. Where you, like, pop in and they go, okay, welcome to The Good Place. God says that you have to do a job or you die. That's normal. That's normal. It's the normal thing. That, yeah, you gotta go do a job for a psychopath who literally takes taxes from you in order to murder children overseas. And you got to work that job and then take the vast majority of the money that you make and then give it to some other psychopath who you don't even know, who would happily watch you die in the streets. This is a normal society, by the way. This is the good place. This is the good place. Like, that's what we are. That's literally the pitch. Right? Do you get this? Like, the pitch, what they actually say to us is, this is the good place. This is the best. This is the end of history. Nothing could possibly be better than this. Now, work for psychopaths or die, peasant. That's the pitch. Like, and if you don't, then you're a lazy loser, layabout. Like, and they're very open about this. Like, yeah, and then it doesn't make any... So finally you have a day where you just go, no, this is the bad place. And then you know what they're going to do? If we all stand up and say, no, this isn't the good place, this is the bad place. They're all going to go, you got us. Now go to work or we'll literally kill you. Like, what do you think's happening? Content says when buildings become paid off, then apartments should become rent to own and be collectively ran by a renters board. Yep. I know, Milo. I know. I'm out of treats. I'm out of treats, Milo. There's no more treats to be had. You ate them all. Do you know that? You ate all your treats, Milo. You put them all in your little face, and you ate them with your little nose, your little mouth. You put them in your face and you ate them, and they're gone. I know that's difficult for you to understand, Milo. It's very difficult. But we have to come to terms with these things, Milo, and embrace the loss of the things that we've loved, and move forward together as communists. Come lie down, buddy. Come on. Come lie down. You guys like my little pep talk for my dog? Yeah, I did. Can't wait to see what dystopian nightmares they can dream up with new AI technology potential. Yeah, dude, the shit that they're going to try to do is going to be, like, absolutely bonkers. Like, it is. It's going to absolutely be bonkers. Like, these people are evil. Like, they're just demonic. Yeah. I want to see what's on Vosh's hard drive. Actually, never mind, I don't. Yeah. Housing is a human right. One of my bumper stickers. Yeah. Like, and like, if you can't house your people, like, for real, if you can't house your people, you cannot be trusted with anything. It's so basic. It's so straightforward. It's so obvious what the solution actually is. And if you can't manage that, then you're not going to manage anything. Like, you're not going to manage fucking anything. Like, maybe you'll put something together for a moment to get, like, one little boop. Like, maybe you'll get, like, boop, we put one man on the moon one time. But then you'll abandon the project completely. Because you're only doing it so that you can say, yeah, we did it! We're the greatest! Look, we did it! We created a goalpost that didn't really exist and then crossed the threshold that we ourselves created. And that means we won! Right? Like, but you're not actually going to maintain any of that. You're not going to sustain anything. And you're going to get blown away by people who understand that, like, oh, there's like a foundation. Like, you need to get rid of homelessness. You need to ensure that people have access to food. You need to make sure that you have a strong consumer market, right? You need to have amenities. You need to create strong education systems. You need to put people into the fields where they're actually doing research and actually doing this kind of stuff, not for profit, but for the sake of research itself. We need to have people in creative and imaginative fields who are creating and imagining not for profit, but for the sake of doing so that they can produce things that are outside of the imagination of the profit model. And that's what perpetuates the species forward. Not this ridiculous, absurd idea that money is good. The thing we invented. We invented a thing, and that's the thing that makes the thing go. Like, I can't think of a dumber idea. And yet we worship money. Like, it's crazy what we do. It's crazy what we do and who we are. What the hell is going on here? I hate it when it jumps down. Conrad says, in East Germany, everyone in my family was happy about 2 years later after the wall fell. My brother killed himself because he could not find a job and could not sustain. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Conrad, dude. That's brutal. That's real brutal, dude. Like, ugh. Yetis, good to see you. Good opportunity to say like the stream, guys. Would you snitch, John? No. Fuck the FBI and the CIA. These are terrorist organizations. These are rogue terrorist organizations. I wouldn't talk to these guys. If these guys approached me and tried to talk to me, I'd be like, where's your warrant? Am I free to go? Like, that's how I'd talk to these guys. Like, I'm not giving these people information. I'm not fucking... I snitch. Fuck these guys. Like, if you work for the FBI and if you work for the CIA, find a better job. Go work at a McDonald's. Do something worthwhile. Like... Stop killing children overseas for your own sick desires. Have the Trotskyists enters the chat. We've got some Trotskyists around. It's fine. No, Watson's not around. I don't know why you guys are so, like... I don't care about that. I, like, really went at it a couple of days ago. Like, I don't care about this whole, like, Trotsky-Stalin thing. Like, who cares that you think Trotsky's the best? Who cares? Like, it drives me crazy. It's literally just like, it's, I don't really consider it that much different than like the Elon stands. Like, at least Trotsky wrote something interesting worth reading. But like, he's not a fucking superhero. He's not like Tony Stark or something. Like, he's not like, I don't know why we're supposed to worship these guys. Like, it drives me crazy that every single time you try to say anything about anything, there's always some Trotskyist somewhere that throws Trotsky out there, and it goes the other way too. There's always some, like, if you start talking about anything, people will just start shitting on Trotsky. So it goes both ways, and it's like, why? Like, who cares about this petty, ridiculous rivalry? Like, it's so dumb. Can't we learn something from these people? Can't we listen to Trotsky and listen to Stalin without it devolving into this, like, but Stalin was but Trotsky and then the books, like fuck you. It's so annoying. It's annoying is what it is. Because it's the opposite of helpful. It's childish. It's literally a type of bickering that is not different than which is better, Star Wars or Star Trek, right? Oh, maybe you could just watch both and appreciate both for what they are, right? And sort of lament the conflict that seems to exist between the two of them. But no, I'm supposed to constantly have a fucking opinion, and I'm supposed to constantly take a side in this thing. Like, fuck off. It's annoying. If we were just living in the wild, we would not have to produce to live, but not the part about funding wars. It's totally sick, and it's been normalized. Yet the normalization of, like, full-scale war, like, we have been in, like, total war for decades. And it's just like, yeah, that's the normal thing to do. That's normal. It's totally normal to go overseas and bomb the shit out of brown people. That makes sense, you know? If we don't bomb brown people, who's gonna bomb these brown people? Like, yikes. The Anarchist says, what you just said was the trolley problem, essentially, John. I don't remember what I said, but sure. Like, they have an episode in The Good Place about the trolley problem. Okay. John channeling Kratos. Yeah, I get Kratos a lot. I also have gotten Max Payne 3. I feel I've got a very kind of Rasputin sort of a look going on. There's like a Rasputin sort of thing happening. Rasputin. Nice t-shirt, says TikTok chat. Thank you, appreciate it. He lives in a pineapple under the sea. SpongeBob SquarePants. My partner and I want kids. It's so unfair to be denied such a natural thing because of some stupid ideology like money. Yeah. Like, and then we all wonder, like, well, why is the population declining? Why are people having kids? I don't understand. 70% of our money goes to rent, you dumb fucks. Like, what do you think's happening? Like, it's wild watching the older generation cluelessly march us off the cliff this way. Like, just cluelessly turn around and be like, why don't you just get a better job? Why don't you just go over there and shake his hand? Like, bruh. When capitalism is gone, we can all make sure everyone can... Yeah, I'm not reading any of that. Although, Milo hates going for walks. He wants to go outside and sniff around a little bit. But when I'm like, okay, buddy, time to go for a walk, he's like, we could just go back inside and you know, sit down. You know. He's an old guy. He just wants to eat a lot and get fat and snuggle and give me kisses. That's all he really wants. Yeah, what's even more stupid is that same ideology is destroying the only home we have. Yeah, there's no Earth 2 we can move to. Yeah. Celever. I don't know if I've ever seen you here, Celever. Coming in with a strong hello. Good to see you, Celever. Hope you're here to be beautiful, bud. Make sure you guys like the stream. Anemone, we are years away from planetary collapse. Who cares who said what? As long as you're on the left, that's all that matters. Yeah. My only issue with Trotskyoids, there's a new one, is that they straight up regurgitate anti-China CIA propaganda. Otherwise, I don't really care. Yeah, I find that to be really weird, actually. Like, anytime I've talked to Trotskyists in regards to China, it's like they're right in lockstep with the CIA, and I'm just like, why? Like, I don't understand it. Like, it just seems as though, like, I think the other thing that I've got with Trotskyists, honestly, is that I just don't think that their perspective is very mature. Like, and which makes sense. Like, Trotsky was writing in the very first experiment. Like, the first experiment with communism was the Soviet Union. The first attempt to actually move forward and build a society on Marxist principles was the Soviet Union, and Trotsky was writing in the early days of that experiment, and then had the split with Stalin afterwards. And then there's also the Sino-Soviet split that happens. And so it's like very, very early writing about the beginning of this experiment, and yet Trotskyists are like, and that's it. That's all we need. We don't need anything else than this. This is the end of it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what actually are you talking about? Like, there are lots of other people who have continuously written on the subject and are continuously moving forward. And it just seems to me like they've just kind of stopped learning. Like, they just want history to end in 1963 or something. It's like, it's not how it works. Yeah, we don't have time anymore to have this debate. Ecological collapse is more important. Yeah, absolutely. McConnell is in the hospital. Yeah, hope he dies. Marcus, sorry for not responding when you thank for the donation. I find it really weird. I can't donate anonymously. I'm terrible with attention. Oh, that's very kind of you, Marcus. There's actually a lot of things that I find to be really weird with the way that this system works. Like, I remember I was like on TikTok and I was looking, there was, who was it? Like Selena Gomez, I think. She got on TikTok and she was just like, she just wanted to hang out with her fans, right? She's Selena Gomez, so she's got like 1 billion fans, right? And she goes and does a live stream and people just start giving her money. And she doesn't really understand because she's never done a live stream, right? To her, this is just like a fun little lark. Like, what a nice way to connect with my fans. And they just start giving her money. And there's this great clip of her realizing, she's like talking to her friends and being like, people are giving me like coins and stuff. That's fake though, right? That's just like play money. And they're like, no, dude, that's real money that they're giving them. And she's like looking at them being like, no, please don't do that. And like, there is no mechanism by which you can just say no, right? That it's built into the system. This obvious, like, yeah, obviously you want money, get money, right? And the designers don't even have it perceived in their brain, the idea that you might want to just not let people give you money, and so shut that off. And also with this, it's like, no, obviously if you donate, you want attention. Like, obviously if you donate, you want people to, like, give you accolades and shit. You want everybody to see it. Like, so there's no method by which you can donate. Marcus, if you want to avoid that in the future, you can just donate through the Patreon. Like, straight up. Like, if the mood takes you and you go, oh man, I could give John some money, you could just go to the Patreon and just donate that way. And then it's just between us. So, I feel you though, bud. I actually find the whole thing to be a bit weird myself. I really wish that the money wasn't part of this. Like, it's annoying. I find it to be very annoying that I'm constantly in this sort of state of needing to complain about money worship and constantly talking about how the system is collapsing, because it is, and the financialization of everything is terrible. But then also being like, hey, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and donate. Ha 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 ha. Like, it's weird. Like, it would be really lovely if I could do this full time. I would really love that. And the only way that that's actually going to happen is if I get enough people to donate. Like, if I got 2,000 people to donate $1 a month, that would do it, right? So if I got, I don't, let's do mathematics, right? If $5 times how many people, right? Like, that's what it would take for me to be able to do this full time. That I would quit my other job and I would just start doing this full time. That most of my money would just go to rent, and I would continue doing this. And that's annoying. Like, it's the people who donate to me are very lovely. I'm very thankful that they do. I'm very grateful that people put monetary. I know money's tight for everybody, And I know that, like, I've had conversations with people who are like, I want to support your channel, and so here's $1. I'm on ODSP. I'm on disability. And then a month later, they're like, I got to take that $1 back. And I'm like, you fucking take that $1 back, bud. Absolutely. Like, it kills me that people are living that tightly. And it kills me that money is part of this whole conversation. Like the commodification of even our relations. The commodification of the way that we communicate with one another, that underneath all of our communications is sort of this idea that, boy, I hope people give me money, and I fucking hate it. I hate it more than anything else. I wish it wasn't part of the conversation. And should I ever get to the point where I'm making enough money from the stream so that I've got my bills taken care of and I can just do this full time and just move forward like that, I'll never talk about money again. I literally don't want people to give me money, but I'm tied to the wheel just like everybody else. It's annoying. It's really fucking annoying. And it's especially annoying knowing how fucking worthless it is. Like, knowing that it's just like, it's something we make up that we can print. We literally have industry, like we could literally just pull the money out, spread it into the society, tax it away from the hoarding dragons, and like create a cycle that would actually empower everybody. But we can't do that because that means Galen Weston isn't the 17th richest man. Like, it's so stupid. Like, it's fundamentally dumb. Content, John, the channel about Yahweh being a storm god is called Esoterica. It's both pretty cool and weird. Devoutly spiritual people is very odd to me. I cannot relate. I think that devoutly spiritual people... Command Genius, good to see you, bud. Like the stream, okay, bud? Command... people who are devoutly spiritual are surrendering their individuality to something larger than themselves. That they have simply decided that it's easier to be an aspect of the whole. It's easier to be part of a larger body than it is to be just an individual. I think that's really what it is. And I actually do really get it. Like, I grew up in the Christian fundamentalist churches. I grew up in surrounded by Jesus people. I grew up singing like Jesus hymns. Like, I know a bunch of Jesus stuff that I don't really whip out that very often, right? And if I do, it's kind of to make light of it, because it's somewhat traumatizing by its own right. But it's and I mean, and not all of it is wrong, like, or darkly sinister. Like, a lot of it is just people dealing with the reality of being immortal and being amortal and you know, approaching their death and trying to come to terms with the strangeness of that. But I do think that, like, people who are devoutly spiritual are in essence just sort of giving their individuality over to some idea of a larger concept or a larger system, which, I mean, given the chaos and the absurdity of life, I can relate. Like, it seems not that irrational. Like, it's not rational, certainly, but it's not irrational. It's just non-rational. Plus, I'm currently weirded out because my gym buddy might be a Moonie. The Moonies, dude. Like, yeah, it's one thing when you find out that someone's like a Catholic because they were like raised Catholic, right? And maybe even like a priest or like a devout sort of person, right? And they're joining some kind of like established faith. Or you find out that a person is just like an evangelical or something, right? It's one thing when you find that stuff out. But when you find out that people are like Moonies, like the Moonies? Really? The Moonies? That's what you're doing? You're being a Moonie? Crazy, dude. Crazy. Chicago Commie says, hello, comrade. How you doing, bud? I'm actually getting a lot of nice comments in the TikTok for once. Maybe I'll glance over at you guys more often now that there's not 400 people shouting about Ronnie McNutt. the people dependent on them, but it's not all of these relationships are in. Sorry. What does it take to be a monthly subscribe on YouTube? I've never checked out Patreon. I have a successful small business and can't help but think that employers and landlords are incentivized to squeeze the people dependent on them, but not all of these relationships are inherently bad. Marcus, if you want to become a monthly subscriber, go to the Patreon. It's in the description, right? It's real straightforward. It's really easy. You can donate how much you like. If you donate even $1, I get you into the Discord. Lots of lovely people put more articles, more conversation happens on the Discord. It's a place where you can go and vent your frustrations in a free and open space. Free and open space, of course, to the most, with you know, guardrails, of course. But like, it's I'm trying to build a little community and trying to find ways to get people to connect to each other, you know, and hopefully that's gaining more and more traction as time moves forward. It's very liquid at the moment. I'm Muslim and I feel good with my choice of religion. Yeah, man. I have nothing against Muslims. Like I gotta tell you, I am, and I'm sorry to say this because I know that there are people in the chat. I don't know if Eric's here right now, but I have said this. Like, if a person is going to stand up and say to me that they're a Christian, I basically go, yeah, okay, I don't really need to listen to you anymore. Like, American Christianity, Western Christianity has lost a lot of credibility to me. Like, that when a person says, yeah, I'm a Christian, I'm like, okay, just, that's a ticking time bomb. Where's the absolutely crazy bullshit? Like, where's the crazy bullshit? That's more or less what I've come to expect from Christianity at this stage in the game. Like, I literally was hanging out with a guy who he called himself a Christian, and I was like, okay, let's move forward. And then not too long afterwards, he was just saying the most racist possible shit that a person can say. Like, literally, African nations are better off for being colonized kind of shit. And I'm just like, it just is like this moment where I'm like, fucking, if you're going to stand up in front of me and say that you're a Christian, I'm like, why? Like I just feel like it's a way to be a racist apologist at this point. Speaking about religion, my mom said I'm being radicalized by ISIS since she found out that I'm Muslim. My mom also threatened to kick me out from the house unless I convert back to Catholicism. Jeez, yeah, so much for like free, right? So much for freedom, right? So much for just being like, yeah, you could be free as long as you do what I say. Milo, dude, come lie down. Stop whining. No more treats, okay? No more treats. You've had lots of treats. Come lie down. Come lie down. You're a good boy. Come lie down. Oh, man. Yeah, that isn't fair, dude. It's just, she said the whole family has to be one religion, and that I needed to be educated on 9/11. That hurt my heart right there, dude. Like, that hurt my heart right there. Like, for real. Like, that you needed to be educated on 9/11. This is what I love about Westerners, dude. Nothing that we do to other people matters. Like, it doesn't exist. There's no, like, there isn't even a connective narrative tissue that exists in the mind of the Westerner. That it literally only is, as far as they're concerned, that we were just sitting around minding our own business, being good Christians, paying no bother or never mind to anybody, working hard and being good Americans, and then those Muslims just threw some planes at us for no reason whatsoever. And it's just like, bro, do you understand how stupid that sounds? Like, do you understand how stupid that sounds? And like, for real, you have people asking the President of the United States, the highest office of the land, Why do they hate us? Why do they hate us so, Mr. President? And the President of the fucking United States, after literally growing up knowing his father was the previous president that had done bombing campaigns throughout the Middle East, that had done bombing campaigns throughout the Middle East, that had done, remember Operation Desert Storm? Like, remember this shit? That knows full well of the violence and death and destruction that his own father had wrought upon the region, looked at her and with just, and straightforwardly, not even like a hint of irony, said, they hate us for our freedoms. Like, they hate us for our freedoms. And the people of America heard this guy say, they hate us for our freedoms. And they all went, oh, yeah, this makes sense. Like, think about how fucking stupid you have to be to actually believe that a person is like sitting in their own country, looks over to another country, goes, those people are freer than me. We should destroy them. Like, do you think that that is actually real? Do you think that it's actual, or do you think it's more likely that a person would go, oh, they're more free than we are. Well, we should get some freedom for ourselves. We should be free. And fight back against whatever they're not being free over. Right? Like, it's yeah, but enough of us believed that. Like, enough of us believed that. That, like, they hate us for our freedoms. Yuck, yuck. Right? Yeah, which 9/11? I'll gladly teach you all about 9/11, 1973, and the coup of Salvador Allende in Chile by the CIA in the United States. Absolutely. Milo, dude, you're not. We already went down. You can go down later. I'm literally over here gobsmacked that a Catholic of all people accuses Islamism of sexism. I'm serious. Just like, what? Yeah, like, the Catholics don't really have a leg to stand on that. Ethan Huntley with the tea and the crumpets. Okay, I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna give it a rest. I'm gonna stop bringing it up for once. It's gonna happen, Ethan. The next time you come in, I'm not going to say tea and crumpets. Okay? I'm Christian, and I really see what you mean. I turned to Christianity because I was in a really bad place. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I completely respect other religions. I really try not to be like ignorant Christians. Yeah, like but like, you know what, man? There does come a point. And I know that this is what happened to me, right? So I'm not saying that other people should follow through on this, but this is what happened to me. That I just came to a point where I really realized that it's not worth it. Like, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it to say I'm a Christian and to fight for Christianity and to defend Christianity and to defend, even though I admire the figure of Christ as a literary figure and I admire the Bible as a document, and I admire the writings of things like Augustus, Thomas Aquinas, right? I admire these authors and what they've contributed, and Christianity was an important part of my own development as a spiritual creature. But like, I just came to a point where I just sort of realized that, like, it's really not worth it. That you really are constantly put in this position by saying you're a Christian to defend positions you don't hold, or you just end up with these bedfellows who are overtly reprehensible. And the other side of it is that if they're not the reprehensible ones, then they're just soppish, like, losers. Like, they're just not actually, they don't actually have spines. They're not actually fighting for anything. Right? Like, every Christian I've ever met is either just a zealot, like a crusading zealot, let's go blow up the Middle East and that's a cool thing to do. Or they're just a quiet simp off in the corner, just being like, well, live and let live, right? Like, and Christ would despise both of these people. He literally would look at the evangelicals, especially, right? But these zealots, and just be like, oh, you guys are psychopathic murderers. Take my name out of your mouth. And then he would look at these like, you think about like the Anglicans, for example, right? Just people who are just sequestered away and just like reading their little Bible and being like, oh yes, I love Jesus. But if an evangelical came up to them and started shouting at them, they'd just be like, oh. And Christ would be like, shut the fuck up. Like, what are you talking about? Like, nobody gives a shit about Christ. That's the thing that I've learned about Christians across the board, is that, like, you can find a couple, right? They're special. The very, very special people that you can grab hold of. They usually end up getting shot or chased out of industries, right? You can find a couple. But for the most part, Christians don't give a fuck about Christ. They don't care. They don't listen to what he says. They don't do what he says, certainly. And they all they really want is just like a weird little icon. They want a plate with a face on it that they can look at and think to themselves, something happens after I die. That's more or less what it is. That it might as well be the face of Justin Bieber. That you might as well look up at your ceramic plate, and it might as well be Justin Bieber looking off into the distance, going like this, and you go, yeah, when I die, I'll meet Justin Bieber. And it'd be the same, right? If the people who called themselves Christians just talked about Justin Bieber the same way that they talk about their Christ, it'd be the same. Because they don't listen to what he says. They certainly don't read their book. They don't give a fuck at all. And when you get into conversations with Christians as somebody calling yourself a Christian, and you recognize very quickly, like, oh, you haven't even fucking read this thing. Like, you don't give a fuck. And then you inevitably find people who have, like, read the book, right? But they care about something that was said in, like, paragraph in Corinthians 2:53, verse 96. Paul said, I hate pants, and so pants are evil, and anyone who wears pants is of the devil. And, like, there's no sense, like, literally there is a passage in the Bible that is called the Great Commandment, where someone asks Christ, yo, Christ, what's, like, the one thing that we should be doing? What's the thing that we should all be doing 100% of the time? And Christ says, you should love the Lord your God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. And it seems to me that Christians bend over backwards to try to remove that utterly from the way that they think about the world and pay attention to some just like Paul said, no one comes through, in John 48:2, he says, no one comes to the Father except through me. So that means Muslims are bad. Like, it's literally what they say. Like, it's literally what Christians say. That they take a line that was written to a specific group of people during a specific time to say a specific thing when Islam didn't even exist, and they literally use it as the basis of the justification to reject an entire people and say that what they're doing is heretical. Meanwhile, Christ literally says, yeah, just care about them like you care about yourself. No, that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So I know there's a lot of people walking around who call themselves Christian, but I've never met one. Like, I've met a lot of people who say that they're Christians, but it'd be like calling yourself like a believer, but never really listening to any of his music, right? Like, it'd be like saying that, yeah, oh, I love Star Wars. Who's Luke Skywalker? Like, that's essentially modern Christianity. Like, these people are illiterate. They don't care to be literate. And when they are literate, it's specifically to reinforce their bigotry. That's what modern Christianity is. That if modern Christianity actually existed, then we would have Christians in the streets. We would have a modern Christian street movement calling for the eradication of homelessness, calling for the selling of property, calling for these CEOs to distribute their wealth. Doesn't exist. You know why it doesn't exist? Because there's no such thing as a Christian. There's just a lot of people calling themselves Christians. Like, so I gave up on it. I just gave up on it. Because it's just like, oh, like, if you're not going to respect Christ, then I don't know why I should bother. Right? Like, he's a nice storybook character. You know, like Aesop's Fables or something. But, like, I'm not going to base my personality off of it. Especially because all of these people don't give a shit about him at all. Like, I don't know why anybody should take this guy seriously. Like, I mean, I know why we should take him seriously. Christ is a very powerful and interesting figure and a powerful story, but nobody gives a shit about that. Like, nobody gives a shit about the actual story of Christ. Like, the story of Christ is that he was a man who was doing good in the world around him, a teacher, a healer, who was only helping people, helping the poor, helping the disabled, helping people find justice, helping people find a way through the literal empire that was crucifying people, right? Trying to create communities where none existed, trying to bridge gaps, and trying to uphold the law, and he was crucified for doing so. That's the story of Christ, that the state, the Roman state, crucifies a man who does nothing but good and follows the law. Once you understand that, you can see Christ everywhere. You can see Christ in the figure of Martin Luther King. You can see Christ in the figure of Julian Assange. You can see Christ in the figure of Edward Snowden. You can see Christ in the figure of George Floyd. You can see Christ everywhere once you understand the story, but we don't, and we don't care to. Because we're not Christians. We just say we are. So I don't bother with it. The best religion has to offer is instilling morals in people that need looming supernatural punishment to be good people. I mean, I do think that religion as a, like, one of the things I firmly believe about humanity is that we will generate religion. Like, it's something that we generate. That we need to worship something. Like, it just seems to be the truth. That if you kill God as a concept, if that goes away, well, then we'll worship something else. Like, it's the reason why we worship money, right? That money exists as an ephemeral force that is fairly abstract. It's an abstraction of something, but it's a measurement, right? And what is it a measurement of? Theoretically, it's a measurement of your usefulness. That, like, well, you're being useful, so you've got a lot of money, so that means that you're good because you're useful, and the society has decided that you, and the invisible hand of the market moved, right? So it's all just religious. Nah, dude, sorry. Like, I understand people want to talk to me on TikTok. I talk to a lot of Nazis. If you want to come talk to me, you go over to YouTube, okay? I'm not interested in having conversations with Nazis. It happens too often, so I don't do it. I like to vet people. I can find out pretty fast if you're a Nazi. Jay Pringle, thank you, bud. Love the new do. Great talk as always. I appreciate it, bud. I appreciate it, bud. Like, this is why I don't really buy into this argument that a lot comes out of a lot of atheists. And I understand why they're saying it, so I'm not upset by it, but I don't really buy into it, where they'll say something like religion is the root of all evil, or religion is about domination or control and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just kind of like, nah, not really. Like, humans are like that. Like, humans do that shit. And we generate, like, religion is something that we generate. It's just something that comes out of us, that we're constantly trying to explain the world around us and using abstract concepts and abstract ideas in order to try to facilitate that and find, and we're attracted to storytelling. That storytelling, this to me is so obvious that it's almost like embarrassing that it needs to be stated. But humans love stories. Like, we love stories. And religion and religious stories find their root in that kind of idea. That's why so much of today's media is so disappointing, because it's worthless. It's basically meaningless, most of it. That it's not attempting to actually make any kind of moral proclamation of any sort. It's not attempting to engage in any kind of meaningful discourse. And when you actually break it apart and try to find something meaningful in it, you recognize how sinister and dark a lot of it actually is. Like, the entire Marvel franchise, like the most popular shit that exists out there today, this Marvel stuff, is basically proto-fascism once you break it all apart. And the messages that are coming out are essentially might makes right, that you need a strong man to protect you from scary unknown forces that are certain to invade. Like, and no one's really attempting. And I feel like a lot of the Marvel movies, like the ethos, quote unquote, of the Marvel movies isn't really thought out. Like, it's not like they sat down and thought to themselves, we're going to make a strong man who's going to protect us and might makes right and all that, and we need to put these forward. It's just what's happened. That's just the ethos that's come out of those films as a natural byproduct of their creation. That no one's really attempting to say anything anymore. Like, you take a look at something like Star Trek The Next Generation, and it's extremely obvious that lots of episodes, and explicitly on purpose, a lot of those shows were designed specifically to talk about a difficult moral issue, take a strong position, and defend it. That for better or for worse, that's what they were doing. And it's just gone. It just doesn't exist in the society anymore. There isn't any show out there that is actually presenting a moral crisis or a moral issue, taking a position on it and defending it. It doesn't exist anymore. And it's turned us into like religious Luddites. That our religion has become a default position of be a dumb monkey. Like, that's really what it is. That if you're not actually thinking about something bigger and broader and larger than yourself, if you're not actually challenging yourself, if you're not challenging your morality or challenging your position, or looking in the mirror, or taking what you're seeing and reflecting it against anything and then thinking about it and discussing that with people around you, then you just default to being a dumb fucking monkey. That's just like, get more! More good, more! For me, more good. Good, more. Yeah, good. And that's it. That what we are looking at is the default mode of humans. That big number is good, but the number is big and good. Like, and that's, so we're just like bereft. We're just morally empty. We're empty of any kind of religious context. And people are searching for it. Like, that's the thing that I think is really noticeable right now. Like, you take a look at like people like Jordan Peterson. In my view, the reason why a guy like him has managed to ascend to the position that he has ascended to is, I mean, first of all, he's been funded by neo-fascists. Like, that's pretty obvious. He's been funded by corporate fascists. So he's obviously got a lot of money backing. But the reason why he has struck a resonant chord is because he's speaking into a vacuum. And people are so hungry to even engage in this kind of discourse of any sort that when someone shows up and has anything even remotely interesting to say, they'll eat it up. And meanwhile, people who are actually standing up, who actually know what they're talking about, and have stronger positions and stronger views, and aren't fascists, right? Well, they don't get the funding. They just get chased out of the conversation. So you end up with your quote unquote meaningful conversations that happen in your society are conversations between like Jordan Peterson and Zizek, right? Just like a clown and a fraud talking to each other, or Jordan Peterson talking to Sam Harris, right? Like just these collisions of clueless narcissists ramming into each other. And we're all supposed to be like, well, how about we have a real conversation with like actual voices? But no, you can't have that, right? You can't actually have like a powerful conversation. Like, can you imagine if Richard Wolff and Jordan Peterson actually talked? Like, it'd be a slaughter, and they know it. Like, they know it. I wish Jesus specified what exactly is Caesar's. I mean, money. Money is Caesar's. Like, Caesar's face was printed on the money. Yeah, Zizek's a loser, dude. I got no respect for Zizek. Zizek, he talks like this and said a lot of interesting things about feminism and masculinity. But at the end of the day, he's like a pro-imperialist loser. He keeps putting forward all the pro-imperialist CIA bullshit. Literally, like, defending the war going on. Talking about... what was something that really fucking pissed me off? Oh yeah, he propagates the straight up myth of the 100 million people dead under Mao. Like just he's a clown. There's a great article. Zizek, court jester of capitalism. Yeah, capitalism's court jester. The thinker in question is also a self-declared Eurocentric who intimates that Europe is politically, morally, and intellectually superior to all other regions of the planet Earth. When the European refugee crisis was intensified due to brutal Western military interventions around the wider Mediterranean region, he parroted Samuel Huntington's Clash of Civilizations credo by declaring, It is simple fact that most of the refugees come from a culture that is incompatible with the Western European nations of human right. This top-tier pundit also endorsed Donald Trump for president. More recently, he explicitly positioned himself to the right of the notorious warmonger Henry Kissinger by accusing the latter of pacifism and expressing his full support for the U.S. proxy war in Ukraine, claiming that we need a stronger NATO to defend European unity. He's a clown. Like, he's a clown. He's what capitalism wants the world to think a Marxist looks like. That's what this guy is. That he's not actually serious. That he's a smokescreen. That if I was a capitalist, I would be like, yeah, this is great. This is what a communist looks like. This is communism right here. Boom. Yeah, we are watching societal breakdown in real time. No safety nets in place. The Boys on Amazon Prime is definitely proto-fascist. I think the creators made it that way. Well, my thing about that is what I say about The Boys all the time. Eric, good to see you, bud. What I say about The Boys all the time is they made the character of Homelander to be understood as a villain. But what's going to happen in the society is that we're going to see a figure like Homelander emerge, but he'll be the hero. That's what I expect that we'll see. And I suspect that'll be the end of the superhero franchise. That once the superhero franchises discredit themselves that way by basically becoming pro-fascist, not proto-fascist, but pro-fascist, that they'll begin presenting... and you can see it with a figure like Thanos, right? That there's a huge contingent of people who are like, Thanos was right? It's a huge talking point online. It's a huge talking point about Thanos. That Thanos was right about his nonsense talking point about how oh, I watched my own people kill themselves because they ran out of resources. Like this Malthusianism, which it's sort of an absurdism on it that an entire species would die off. Like it doesn't actually make sense. And who believes this psychopathic serial killer in the first place when he tells a story about his homeworld? But like, and it's like a fictional story on top of it. But so Thanos is like he's a genocidal fascist like Nazi basically, and there are plenty of people you can find who say, yeah, Thanos had a point though. Like, it's only a matter of time until we get a hero like Superman is going to be presented to us, and he's going to be a fascist. Like, he's going to essentially be a Nazi, and we're all going to be like, we love him. We're all supposed to worship this guy. Like, it's coming. Jay Pringle, yesterday when you said the protests in the world weren't good enough, I felt that. We need to go to the houses of these clowns. Yeah, it's the absolute truth. Like, it's the only thing that's actually going to work. Like, they're not going to respond to anything else. These people are detached, narcissistic psychopaths. They don't care about anything. Ethan really got through interesting concepts today. Got some serious thinking to do. Hope everyone has some top-notch day. Gotta go now. Hope you're doing well, Ethan. CEO pay is such a great smokescreen for investors with a board seat. Yeah. John, are you on top chat or I'm getting censored? I suspect you're getting censored, looking to Z. Like, everybody gets censored all the time. It's nothing new. It's nothing new. Ugh. Oh, dude, I gotta talk about this. Elon Musk's cruel mockery of a disabled worker exposes an ugly truth about America. On Tuesday, Elon Musk, the billionaire CEO of Tesla and Twitter, publicly shamed and bullied a disabled employee because that employee dared to ask if he was still employed by Twitter. Musk replied by calling him lazy and a faker, but the exchange did not just reveal Musk's penchant for cruelty, it exposed a larger, ugly truth about this country. The disabled are deprived of the opportunity to work, not because they lack talent, but because of the bigotry of no expectations. Elon Musk says, the reality is that this guy, who is independently wealthy, did no actual work, claimed as his excuse that he had a disability that prevented him from typing, yet was simultaneously tweeting up a storm. Can't say I have a lot of respect for that. Here's what happened. Haraldur, Prolifson, who goes by Halli, is a famous Icelandic designer and the creator of the major design firm Ueno, which was sold to Twitter in 2021. Ueno was fantastically successful and only sold to Twitter because Halli suffers from dysferlinopathy, a genetic type of muscular dystrophy, which painfully and slowly robs the sufferer of any control of their muscles. Halli is wheelchair-bound and can only eke out a few hours of work a day, but he took a job at Twitter because he believed in the company. 10 days ago, Halli found himself locked out of his work computer at Twitter and unable to reach HR. He tweeted Musk to figure out what was going on. From Halli, dear at Elon Musk, 9 days ago the access to my work computer was cut, along with about 200 other Twitter employees. However, your head of HR is not able to confirm if I am an employee or not. You've not answered my emails. Maybe if enough people retweet, you'll answer me here? Musk demanded proof, which Halli provided, after which Musk tweeted something disabled Americans like me have heard from employers time and time again. The reality is that this guy did no actual work, claimed as his excuse that he had a disability that prevented him from typing, yet was simultaneously tweeting up a storm. Can't say I have a lot of respect for that. Sadly, this kind of language is all too familiar to us in the disabled community. Too often we are called lazy or fakers because of our limitations. Musk earned heavy criticism from all quarters for these comments, yet continued to double down until late yesterday, likely after he learned from Twitter that he had just attacked a member of the Do Not Fire list that had been one of his lead designers on the new edit feature. I would like to apologize to Holly for my misunderstanding of his situation. It was based on things I was told that were untrue, or in some cases true, but not meaningful. He is considering remaining at Twitter. All's well that ends well, right? It's not like there isn't a shortage of issues plaguing Twitter, so why care about this tale of buffoonery? Because it illustrates an ugly underbelly of American society that is rarely noticed by the healthy-bodied. In the United States, around only 20% of disabled Americans are able to find employment. That isn't for lack of trying. The unemployment rate for the disabled, which requires participants to seek work, is double that of the general population. On top of that, disabled Americans are 3 times less likely to be employed, less likely to receive benefits, and most likely to suffer significant gaps in employment and discrimination in the workplace. It is not just federal statistics. Polls and studies overwhelmingly reflect this data. In one vivid 2015 study by Reuters and Syracuse universities, researchers determined that when a prospective employee or employer considers hiring or promoting a potential applicant, disabled candidates were 26% less likely than their able-bodied competition to get the job. This is the harsh reality for millions of disabled Americans. The shameful behavior displayed by Elon Musk towards a disabled employee is unfortunate, not uncommon in the American workplace. Or, as one prospective news manager years ago warned me, if you want to make it in the news, then you cannot let people know about your disability, even in your socials. It will hold you back. Consider what happened here. Holly is an internationally respected designer, a recipient of awards galore, and himself a multimillionaire. He's worked for everyone from Apple to Walmart, has been a longtime fixture in the disability and charity communities, and is respected by all. If this prolific man with a visible and well-documented disability can be publicly defenestrated and bullied, what chance do most disableds with a lower class living standard and invisible, complex illnesses stand in private by employers who see them as potential liabilities or lazy fakers? There's a huge discrimination problem in America. It's the well versus the unwell. Despite laws and regulations aimed at promoting equality, discrimination against the disabled remains pervasive, especially in the workplace. America desperately needs a workplace culture change on this issue. Shame on the Doge King and all those blessed by fortune to live as cruel Ebenezers against those whose only crime is living without health. To the person who's trying to call me on TikTok, you can come over to YouTube, dude. I talk to lots of Nazis, so I've stopped talking to people. Real straightforward. Just not interested in talking to Nazis. You can come over to YouTube. We'll see if you're a Nazi. I'd say it's probably about 70% of the time it ends up being a Nazi, or at worse, a liberal. Or worse, a liberal. Content: Thanos was dumb. He could snap his fingers and bring into reality the technological singularity and quadruple the size of the universe and keep the population to its own devices. Yeah, but he's a fascist, right? Like that's like the fundamental, like, you're just pointing out the deep flaw in the people who are saying, like, oh, Thanos has a point. That, like, Thanos wasn't trying to get to where he was going in order to solve the problem, right? Like, he literally could bend reality. He could just bring everybody back to life, right? Like, he could just bring everybody back to life, solve the technological issues, solve the problem. Like, there are these infinity stones. He could absolutely move, do this, but he didn't. Why? Because he's a Nazi, right? Like, because he's a fucking Nazi. Adam Beck, good to see you, bud. I saw your question. I assume you're rewriting it. So I'll let you do that. Good to see you here, bud. I'm happy to answer that question, bud. Marcus, I feel like a killjoy for pointing out how dumb comic book story writing is. Well, look, comic books were meant for kids. Like, this is the thing about what's going on with this comic book shit, right? Is that it's keeping us in a childish stasis. It's not allowing us to grow up. We are all perpetually the lost boys, constantly, perpetually stuck in this state of jerking off to stuff we were jerking off to when we were 12. That we're reading Batman like when you read Batman comics and you're a kid, you're just like, yeah, Batman's cool, right? That's it. Like, Dad, that's cool. That's it. You're not putting in like a deep philosophical kind of thing. You're literally just like, man, I relate to Spider-Man, right? Oh, it'd be cool to have superpowers. That's it. Like, all of this superhero stuff is basically just power fantasy. And the idea that it is being updated for an adult audience it just tells you that your adult audience never grew up. Like, these movies suck. And they suck because they were always meant for children. That's the long and short of it. They were always meant for children. They were never meant for adults. They were never drawn for adults. They were never to be taken seriously by adults. They were always meant for children. And now they're the culture. Like, they're the culture. And there's nothing being made for adults. Then every so often you get like Scorsese make like The Wolf of Wall Street, which gets largely misunderstood by the society because we're a society of children. That we take a look at the main character of The Wolf of Wall Street and instead of saying, oh, this is a cautionary tale and a story about the downfall of a villain, instead of saying that, we're going, oh man, sweet. What a sweet life that guy lived. Yeah, sure, he got caught by the cops, but then, you know, he's still made millions. He's great. Because we're no longer capable of perceiving the world as adults. We're too busy watching yet another Spider-Man movie. Like, yet another Spider-Man movie. Which, they're all the same. Like, they're the same movie. And, like, yeah, I loved Spider-Man when I was 14. Right? And then, like, I watched it again when I was 16. And then by the time I was, like, 23, I was like, okay, like, I've seen this. Like, I've seen this. You know? Like, I get it. I understand. Are you going to say anything interesting about it? No? Oh, okay. Like, I miss 90s movies before CGI visual effects replaced good writing. Yeah, it does seem like that is how it went. And it's so crazy. We've got all this beautiful CGI visual potential, and all of our movies are like banal and kind of the same, right? Like, 80s movies and 90s movies actually had like interesting subjects that they actually wrote interesting stories. Like, remember Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? There's a fucking concept, right? Like, yeah, like concepts used to be weird and off the wall and wacky and experimental. Now everything is just like an Iron Man movie, basically. Adam, what do you think is the moment a Christian is no longer a Christian? Is there a moment or action that would impact that? I think that if you think the poor are bad and call yourself a Christian, you're not. I think that's a pretty clear one. I think that if you are pro-war and call yourself a Christian, you are pretty clearly not. Basically, if you hold views and vote along lines and judge other people for doing things or acting in a way that Christ explicitly says you shouldn't, then you're not a Christian. And you're not really interested in being a Christian. Like, I do understand that there is something of a view that says that things like Christianity and things like this are for people who are trying to improve themselves. That is the method by which people seek to improve themselves. But down to the institutional level. Like Pat Robertson and the evangelical churches. Like, these are heretical non-Christian churches. Like, they're not interested. They don't care about the Bible. Joel Osteen doesn't give a fuck about the Bible. Like, if you're in the middle of a hurricane and people are homeless and need a place to go and you lock your doors, you're not a Christian. Like, pretty straightforwardly. You're a fraud. And a grifter. And we seem to absolutely love it. Oh, here's a headline. American military news. 77% of young Americans too fat, mentally ill, on drugs, and more to join military, Pentagon study finds. We're going to fight a war against China, you guys. We're going to fight a war against China. It's going to go super well. 77% of young Americans, so presumably your recruits, too fat, mentally ill, on drugs, and more to join military. Like, womp womp womp. I don't know what happened. We absolutely destroyed our education system, all of our institutions, poisoned the water supply and the food, and everyone's unhealthy and can't fight anymore. Like, this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about how fucking stupid we are. Like literally, even if you were like a pro-military person, and you're like, we got to make sure the military is strong, I've got to fight these Chinese, we got to go over there and make sure the Ruskies are put in their place and make sure that the Chinese are put in their place. Well, you know what you want? You know what you want? You want strong, healthy, literate citizens. That's what you want. If you don't have strong, healthy, literate citizens, you're not fighting any fucking war. This is my absolute favorite thing that America has done. That they've created this like pro-war society and they're a warmongering people, but their citizens are incapable of actually fighting a war. And that was all well and good when they were like bombing Iraq. You know, when they were going up against helpless nations that didn't have a standing army or navy or air force, right? But now they're picking fights with Russia. Now they're picking fights with China. China's not gonna fucking lie down, dude. China's not gonna be like, oh no, the Americans are dropping bombs, oh dearie me. They're gonna shoot back. Like, they're gonna shoot back. And 77% of us are not capable of fighting. What, you think that 77% of Chinese youth are incapable of fighting? There's 1.4 billion of them. There's 300 million of us. Basic math. 1 + 1 equals what? We can't do it. Like, this is how stupid we are. We're a very dumb people. A very dumb people. Marcus says, we glamorized Belford and made him a celebrity post-prison, even though he used capitalism to destroy countless people's retirements with his grifts. Absolutely, yeah. And, like, you have a whole generation of people who get into Wall Street who completely venerate this guy. Yeah, Wolf of Wall Street, I hate. It's like a guy who cheats everyone to get ahead. Don't understand how the guy gets attention. Because everybody understands that we live in a grifter society, Adam. Like, that's the hard pill to swallow. That the only skill, like you got guys like Peterson walking around me like, the way to ascend the meritocracy is the most competent people ascend the meritocracy. Well, the most competent at what? The most competent at what? Well, it's the most competent at being a grifter. And Peterson should know. Tinker, good to see you, bud. Good, Rusty, good to see you. Mr. Moon, good to see you. Good opportunity to say like the stream, guys. Hit the like button. But for real, hit the like button. Hit the like button. Let me take a look at my stats. I got 23 people in the stream right now. I got 30 likes. I've had 95 viewers. I should have 95 likes right now, you fucking motherfuckers. No, I'm going to pull back on that. Please do consider liking the stream, guys. Like, I know it seems like not much of anything, but it's something. It's something. Hollywood has definitely lost its magic some time ago. Well, because it's not interested in making good movies. Like, it's the same thing that's happening to the video game industry. Like, the video game industry is not really interested in making good games anymore. right? That like we are getting like some gems. Like I would say that Elden Ring was like a really, really powerful, like a masterpiece of a game to come out. But it's because the studio is actually still of the mindset that like, yeah, you make good games. Like we're not here to put in loot boxes. We're not here to put in like little tiny microtransactions. Like one of the things that was so crazy about Elden Ring was that they released a finished product. They released the product, and then a week after release, they released a patch to it that essentially was like a little expansion for free. They just attached it to the game because they were just like, oh yeah, okay, we'll fill this out a little bit more. Like, when was the last time that a game actually got released and it was finished on release, and they were just like, there's the game, play it? That doesn't happen anymore, right? What do they do now? They release a half-assed, half-finished product that barely functions as it is, and then they update it over time as they make sales, right? And then it's littered with microtransactions. Oh, do you want this cool sword? That'll be another $5. Oh, do you want that magic spell? That'll be $2, right? So, and more games are just turning into casinos, right? They're not actually making a game anymore. They're turning everything into a gambling house, and everything's becoming a casino because that's the way to make money. Like, I take a look at Blizzard Entertainment is releasing Diablo 4. Like, they're putting Diablo 4 into beta, and I'm just like, I'm not going to buy that game. It's going to be a shitty game. I'm like dead certain it's just going to be a piece of shit. That it's not going to be good. They'll have like a pretty solid Act 1, I bet. And then, the rest of it will just be trash. That's my expectation now of these guys. I don't think that they're capable any longer. Because they're interested in making casinos. They're not interested in making games anymore. And it's the same thing with movies, right? They're not interested in making good movies. They're not interested in telling good stories. They're interested in putting forward an ideology. They're interested in putting forward their idea of what they want you to be talking about. Like, that's Disney to a T. That, like, they're not actually interested in telling a good story. They're interested in putting forward a political agenda. And it's gotten really obvious that that's what they're doing. And so your storytellers are propagandists. That's what it is. That we don't get a story that is just a simple story about a person on the hero's journey anymore. For some reason, I'm thinking about Willow, right? We don't get that anymore. We don't get somebody who we don't get a story or like we don't get a story anymore that's about like low stakes. We don't get stories anymore where it's like a guy that wants to get even the girl anymore. Like, that's gone. We don't get stories about a person who just wants to get like, we don't get like Napoleon Dynamite anymore. We don't get low stakes stories anymore. Everything has got to be the apocalypse is here and we've got to stop it. Every single fucking time, the stakes literally have to be reality itself will be destroyed, because they don't know how to tell stories anymore, and they don't understand what stories are anymore. They don't understand, like, Hollywood doesn't understand that people get really invested into watching people struggle towards something that really matters to them. And like, you think about movies like Clerks, for example. Clerks is a great example of like a low stakes film where the stakes could not be much lower, right? And there's tons of 80s movies, like some of the classic 80s movies, like The Breakfast Club, Dead Poets Society, right? Like, stories about humans being humans, and stories about people fighting through their own personal adversity, and stories about people from different places than you, so that you can learn something about them and fall in love with them. Stories like The Shawshank Redemption, which is literally never get made because people would be like, well, they're not destroying the world or anything. Like, it doesn't have any, the stakes are so low, right? The stakes are just like their personal journey through this penitentiary system. right? That you and I bring up the Shawshank Redemption because Shawshank Redemption for me was like, that's the film that got me into the arts. That's the film that made me go, oh wow, what a powerful story. I remember that film being like, I was a rural Manitoban kid, and it was that film that made me really think about the penitentiary system, the injustices of the penitentiary system. That made me start thinking about the injustices of race relations, the horrors of aging. Like, and I thought it was just such a beautiful story with such a wonderful twist at the end. I was entranced by it. And I thought to myself, wow, we can tell those kinds of stories. We can tell those kinds of beautiful stories. Like, you don't get stories like fucking Sister Act, you know? You think about something that's kind of lighthearted. You don't get these sort of small scale little stories anymore because everything's got to be the end of the fucking world now. And because it's the only way they think that they can get people's attention and hold people's attention, because they've lost the ability to tell stories. They don't know how to tell stories anymore. That simple, clean, personal stories are gone. Like, I think about, I keep bringing up Star Trek: The Next Generation, and the one I'm thinking of now is Data's Day. One of the best episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation was literally a story from the perspective of Data, and he was going around doing mundane shit and just having like normal conversations with people and misunderstanding most of the time because he's an android, so he doesn't understand humans, and he doesn't, and so it was really beautiful to watch this guy struggle, this character struggle with things that we as humans consider to be fairly basic, like basic relationships. Things like dance, like trying to just struggle with basic human stuff and having people explain as if he's a child what this means and how to attach with it. And it really made you like relate to this guy because there are so many times in your life that you struggle with social situations, you don't understand what's going on, and here's this character who's built to misunderstand these things. And so you're really going along with him and learning something about yourself and learning something about humanity as you go along with it. And those stories just don't exist anymore because we're not trying to tell stories anymore. And we're just trying to dangle keys in front of the face of just an increasingly stupid audience. Just an increasingly stupid audience. It destroyed cinema. Plus, the audience wants a messiah like Superman to save them from the problems we face today. Yeah, that's part of it too, right? Like we want to kind of fall into a fantasy world, you know? Like I feel like that's a big part about it. That, like, you take a look at some of the movies that came out throughout the 80s and even the 90s, and a lot of times they were a reflection of the society. But now the society has gotten so horrific that if you started to do that kind of stuff, I think people would be like, this is depressing as shit. It's like, yeah, of course it is. Like, of course it is. So people are using film as a form of escapism almost entirely now. And there's nothing wrong with that. The only people who don't want others to escape are jailers. But we're not really saying anything meaningful anymore about our society. Like, I'd say the last piece of media that I saw that was actually a relatively decent reflection of the society that spawned it was Breaking Bad, right? But everything since then has just kind of been like historical dramas. Let's talk about serial killers of the past, like Tiger King. People love having a strong male figure to bow down to. Millennia of monarchies naturally select that into us, I suppose. Yeah. This is a barbaric society with a patina of civility. Well, and that patina is going away. You can see it in, there are figures, like, I think Kevin O'Leary is a great figure to look at if you want to see the doing away of the patina of civility. That Kevin O'Leary is a rapacious psychopath, and is pretty open about it. Like, it's pretty rapaciously open about it, and you just pay attention to his greatest hits, and you're like, oh, okay. Like, he's a crazed psychopath wearing a suit. That's all. And we're supposed to think that he's smart because he's rich. Tinker X, Hollywood lost its storytelling ability when all the major studios were bought out by huge corporations. Bottom line is shareholders are more important than storytelling. Yeah. I mean, you'll never end up with a film like The Princess Bride again. Like, that's something that I lament that. Because The Princess Bride is such a beautiful film. It's such a special film that I know I will never see another movie made like that again. And I actually do lament that. Because it's such a precious jewel. Such a beautiful gem where so many things had to go right to make that movie happen, and it did. And there are so many parts of it that studio executives wanted to be rid of. And there's a long history of this, of studio executives wanting to get rid of things that become so central and so important. Like in The Wizard of Oz. Going all the way fucking back to The Wizard of Oz. Studio executives wanted to get rid of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Because they were like, what's the point of this? Like, it doesn't further the plot. It doesn't go anywhere. It's a beautiful song, like, don't get me wrong, but what's the point of it? So they wanted to get rid of it. And the writer had to fight for it. And the way that he finally convinced them is he said that Somewhere Over the Rainbow is how the audience will fall in love with Dorothy. And once the audience falls in love with Dorothy, then they'll watch the film from her perspective. That without it, she's just kind of a whiny girl. That you can take a look at how audiences responded to Alice in Wonderland. If you go back to Disney's Alice in Wonderland, that audiences really didn't care for Alice very much because they thought she was a very whiny girl. That she was complaining most of the time and telling people don't do that and trying to shame people most of the time, right? Well, and Dorothy does an awful lot of that. But the reason why you are on board with it, the difference between those two characters is that when Dorothy does it, you're going, yeah, you tell him, Dorothy, because you fell in love with her. You fell in love with her when she sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Because she sang this absolutely beautiful, bittersweet tale of desire and longing for a better life. To get away from the mundanity of what you're experiencing. And in that single song, she with that song whisked you away to Oz before you even went, and the studios wanted to be rid of it. And what they wanted to do in The Princess Bride is they wanted to get rid of the old man telling the story. They just wanted to show the story. They were like, why do we have like Columbo coming out and reading the story, and why is there this intersplicing that's happening throughout this story? Why is there these interruptions that are happening? Why are we constantly going back to this little kid and the old man? Why is that happening? And they really had to fight them. Rob Reiner had to fight them and finally convince them. And his defense of it all was that because at the end of the day, the beauty of the story and what makes it precious is that it's not actually the story of Wesley and Buttercup. It's not actually the story of Inigo Montoya. It's not actually these people's story. It is a story of an old man building a relationship with his grandson and passing his story down to the next generation. And that's what makes that so important and powerful. And bookends and encapsulates the totality of what the story is about. That the story is not about the fantasy, it's about the family. But studio executives have no soul. And now everything has become executives. The directors of films are now studio executives. And so everything is just faffy bullshit now. Because nothing has any heart. Nothing's about learning to love anyone. Nothing's done for artistic reasons. Nothing's done to try to make people cry, make people actually fall in love. Like, really think about that. Like, when was the last time you watched a movie and actually cried? Movies can make you cry. They absolutely can make you cry. You can weep like a baby while watching a movie. Well, when was the last time one was made that even threatened it? That even said that we're attempting to do this? It doesn't fucking happen anymore. Why doesn't it happen? Because these are soulless enterprises. That the people who are telling the stories don't have emotions. We're ruled by psychopaths who literally do not have the capacity to understand subjects like love. They don't have the capacity to understand subjects like emotion. That for them, the closest they'll ever get is like an analytical dissertation about emotion. So you end up with stories like Inside Out or something. But like, you don't end up with anything that actually has any meaning or heart or beauty or truth or any idea even attempting to reach for these things. Everything is just a faff. Just, you know what would be funny? Hey, you know what would be great? Hey, let's have Thor get his clothes ripped off. Sure, let's have Natalie Portman be Thor now. Like, there's no stakes. Like, nothing actually matters. Because every narrative now is just take character, threaten character's world existence, unless character goes and gets MacGuffin. Character gets MacGuffin, uses MacGuffin, world saved. That's every story that's been told in the last 10 years. There's just nothing that has any heart to it anymore. Nothing that's about anything other than the world is going to end. Like, it sucks. Like, it sucks. It's the bottom line. Getting profits every quarter is more important than, let's say, a Godfather movie or a Kubrick-like film. Yeah. Marvel movies are hands out the most profitable. Only exception is Avatar and Top Gun Maverick. Yeah. Top Gun Maverick, dude. That's my favorite. My favorite about people who are like, Hollywood's gone woke. I'm like, what are you talking about? Hollywood made Top Gun Maverick. Like, what are you fucking talking about? Hollywood's gone woke? Jesus Christ. Marcus, video games were better when they had to be complete to a box to the disc and sell at the store. Yeah, you had to get it right. There was no such thing as a patch. You couldn't patch these things. If your game had a bug in it and didn't work out of the box, then you were fucked. By the way, they've officially announced a DLC for Elden Ring. Yeah, that's correct. It's called the Shadow of the Urge Tree. It's rumored to be a massive DLC the size of game. Yeah, dude, are you kidding me? Like, Elden Ring is a masterpiece. Like. And what's brilliant, what I actually love about the designer, somebody asked him, like, what do you think the success of Elden Ring was? Why do you think Elden Ring was such a huge success and like broke into the mainstream the way that it did? And his response was so telling. He was just like, I have no idea. Like, he literally said, I have no idea. I don't know why this game broke through. I don't know why. Like, we're talking about guys that made Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, that made Sekiro, Bloodborne, right? And finally now with Elden Ring, it punched through. And it broke through to a mainstream audience, finally. Where it got out of the fringe of the Dark Souls world and finally became like a mainstream game that lots and lots of people bought and tried and played. And only like literally 25% of people who purchased it have actually finished. And but it's quite literally a masterpiece. And the reason why it's a masterpiece is that these guys are just sitting there being like, yeah, we're not trying to make it successful. We're trying to make something amazing. We're trying to make something worth spending your time with. We're trying to make it so that when you live in the world of Elden Ring, you're better off for it. That you get something out of this. That you feel something. That's what I respect about FromSoft more than anything, is that you fucking feel something when you play those games, man. Like, so many games that you play these days, you just sort of, you're just like a passive observer. That the gameplay itself is actually easy. That everything is just sort of a paint by numbers. Do this, do this, do this. They literally put an icon over the head of the thing and point an arrow to it. and say, go to the thing, right? And so you just walk to the thing, blazing by whatever's happening here, because all of this is obviously irrelevant because they've pointed an arrow at the thing you're supposed to go do, right? And then you go to the thing, they give you the thing, it's usually go get a MacGuffin, and then they point an arrow to the place you're supposed to go, right? And then along comes Elden Ring, and it's basically just like, yeah, I mean, I guess you can go that direction, I suppose. Oh, who am I supposed to talk to? And so the game puts walls in your way. They put barriers in your way. And they say to you, yeah, just get good. Just get better. Like, shut up. You're like, I keep dying. Yeah. That sense of frustration sets in. You feel something. And then when you finally break through the wall and you actually climb over it and you actually get to the other side and you defeat the monster, you fucking feel it. You feel the rush of like, yes, I did it. Fuck this thing. Fuck you. I did it. And it teaches you something. You learn how to approach problems. It creates problems that you have to solve and says to you, if you cannot solve the problem, game over. The game ends for you. Your journey is through. Solve this problem. Can't do it? Go play another game. And that's the reason why it's successful. That's the reason why it's successful, because it's doubled down on the one thing that video games do that is different than every other medium and art form. There's no such thing as a painting you can't see. There's no such thing as a piece of music you can't finish. Art is usually something that happens to you. You put a movie on and it happens to you. You read a book, and the only way you're not going to finish that book is if you close it and put it aside, because you just stop reading it. That's the only way the interaction between yourself and most art forms ends, is that you stop engaging. That's not true with video games. Video games is the one art form where the art itself will look at you and say, you're not good enough to do this. You can't do this. Get better or stop playing. And most people, when they encounter a game like this, stop playing. Most people stop playing Elden Ring because it's too difficult. They can't put it in anymore. The problem's too hard. They don't have what it takes to move forward and solve the problem and finish the thing. That's brilliant. That's fascinating. That there's this mechanism that exists to create a beautiful artistic piece that presents a problem to solve for you. That it's a piece of art that you literally can stop experiencing because the art itself says you're not good enough. That's crazy. That is a humbling experience. That's something that I admire about video games as a medium more than anything else. That games humble you. They say to you, you are not good enough. And they ask you to prove yourself and prove your mettle and prove your worth. That's why I consistently find myself going back to chess. Because if I get into this mindset of like, I'm the greatest, I'm the shit, I'm the bee's knees, everybody else is stupid but me. I play 2 games of chess and I go, yeah, I'm pretty bad. I'm really looking forward to the Elden Ring DLC, dude. Elden Ring was a masterpiece. It was a masterpiece, man. Like the every piece of it. Every part of it. I find myself sometimes going into Elden Ring now and just looking at it. Like, not trying to do anything, not trying to get an objective, but like just be in the game, like look at a tree. Just look at that fucking tree. And see how much work they obviously put into just that goddamn tree. And there are moments in that game that are shocking and surprising. That just you think it's gonna be nothing. You think you're going to go into a place and it's going to be nothing. It's going to be another hole in the ground. There's going to be some kind of bear or a rat or something that you're going to fight. And it ends up just being this glorious godscape of amazement that just explodes your brain on what the possibilities of what this world has to offer. It's an incredibly powerful game. And the beating heart of what makes that game excellent is that they're not sitting there going, how do I get more money out of you? They're sitting there going, how do we present a challenge to you that makes it so that you have to get better to continue or stop. Like they don't want you to pay your way through. They don't want you to find microtransactions to skirt content and get all that kind of stuff. They literally say the game is $80. It's a finished product, and most of you aren't going to finish it. Fucking works, man. Fucking works. Like, these games are brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant because they're games. Because they're games. They're not casinos. It's just. I'm so happy that there's a studio like FromSoft that exists and is around. That is actually making games. That is actually making art. That is actually looking at what this is and saying, we need to perfect what this is. And Elden Ring perfected the medium. Like, it truly did. It took what the medium has to offer and it perfected it. It just outright said, if you can't move forward, then you don't get to see the rest of the game. I literally had a moment when I was playing Elden Ring where I thought that my game was over. I was fighting that big fire giant, the huge-ass fire giant. I just couldn't beat this guy. And I thought it was done. I thought it was over. I thought I was going to put this game aside and never finish. And when I finally killed that fucking giant, I, cried. I cried in celebration because I knew I got to keep moving forward. I knew the game didn't get me. I beat it. I did it. That was a fucking good feeling, man. That was a good fucking feeling. I'm really going on Elden Ring right now, man, because I feel like I'm far enough away from it now to kind of unpack the experience. That, I built a wizard on my first game through, and I made it to the last boss. And I realized I was getting tired of this wizard. I didn't like the wizard. And I realized that for me to actually kill the last boss with this character, I was going to have to go do a whole bunch of other stuff and build this character up. And I just decided to start the game again and start a new character. And then I built a dexterity guy with claws. And that guy, I killed everything with that guy. I was just like, fuck yes. So I actually got to the last boss twice before I finally killed the last boss. And it was brilliant. And the lesson for me is, Jonathan, can you maybe try doing it the easy way next time? Can you maybe try doing it the easy way next time? Why do you always gotta do it the hardest way possible? Why do you always need a second run up, dude? What is that? What is that? Anyway. Good art can teach you something. And the shit that they're producing now is just so you can jerk off to it. That's all. It's so you can put it in the corner and then put on your porn and jerk off. That's all it's for. It's so that when, you're having your little power fantasy and then, Scarlet Widow comes on and you're like, oh yeah, tight leather. That's it. That's all it's for. Fucking annoys me, man. Yeah. Good to see you, Broccoli Cheddar Rice. Hit the like button, guys. I know I just went on an Elden Ring splooge, but that's fine. I'd recommend The Green Knight to you, John. I'm sure you'd love it. Obviously, based on I'm somewhat familiar to The Green Knight. I'm just about to get a whole bunch of books from my local library. I've got a lot of holds going on in the library, and I'm just about to get a bunch of them. Yeah, low-stakes stories are relatable and interesting, yeah. Peanut Butter Falcon was a good example of that, which I enjoyed recently. I don't think I'm familiar with Peanut Butter Falcon. Although I love the name. I really need to brush up on the classics. The best thing to do is to get audiobooks, man. Go to your local library, get audiobooks. Especially you, dude. The library system is great. Use the library system. Use audiobooks. They're easy to get. They're easy to get, and they're easy to listen to. And you could put them on when you're like traveling. You can put them on all over the place. I know that when I travel, I'm listening to books all the time. I'm listening to a book now that's called Generation of Sociopaths that argues that the boomers are sociopaths. And I don't necessarily agree with everything he says, but it's an interesting book. Goes through the history. Yeah, Princess Bride, man. That was a precious movie. To be fair, if I was in Wonderland, I would whine. Never-ending story. Yeah. Zuko and Iroh's reunion. Yeah. You know, dude, like... Avatar The Last Airbender, like... They're doing a live action of it, and I don't know if I'll even bother watching it. Like, I just don't know why they're doing a live action of it. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point? Like... I feel like when the guys got it, like when the creators got involved in Avatar, the Avatar thing, I think they wanted to continue the story. They wanted to tell more of the story, and then they found out that it was just going to be essentially a retelling, and so they left the project. They were just like, well, you guys don't need us for this. Like, there's the story, and Zuko's arc, hands down, and I don't think you can debate this. Zuko's arc throughout the series is one of the strongest character arcs perhaps in all of television. And I don't mean modern television. I mean all of television. That he went from being a boy who was on a quest to capture the Avatar to regain his father's honor to helping the Avatar defeat his father. That's an incredible arc that he goes on. And Iroh is one of the most powerful characters on that journey. Constantly supporting but also challenging and pushing Zuko towards becoming the man he needed to be. It's such an amazing story and such a surprising story from such an unexpected place. I think that's the thing about Avatar The Last Airbender that is so interesting. That it's such a surprising story. You don't expect it to have the power that it does. You don't expect it to have the power that it does. And they never were able to recapture it. They just couldn't do it again. So something special happened there. I heard TLOU, episode 3 was amazing. I don't know what TLOU is. No, I don't know what that is. Go watch a Ken Loach film, very personal. Oh, you know what film I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of Christopher Guest films, like Best in Show. There's some low stakes shit right there, right? Just literally like people going to a dog show and presenting dogs, right? And the weird oddball characters of these people who are like dog owners that go to shows I actually would love if somehow the universe just bestowed upon me like $1 million, if I suddenly just staggered into like a money, or I suddenly found an investor who was like, yeah, John, pitch me a story. The story I would pitch would absolutely be like a Christopher Guest style story about people going to a Christian music convention. That's absolutely what I would pitch. Because I have all of the characters in my brain. Like you'd have the one guy who's just like the singer-songwriter who sings about Jesus as if he's like a Bieber kind of guy, right? And he plays his guitar and all this kind of stuff. You'd have like the older couple who were like the country gospel singers singing about I love my Jesus, right? You'd have like the Christian rock group, right? You have the Christian rock group, and then you'd have like the country western belle who's singing like Christian country music, and then I think you'd also have like a choir with a choir director. And all of those would be interwoven within each other, being organized by like the central organizer who herself is like kind of like a manic, like Christian woman, right? But and the whole point of it would not be to take the piss out of any of these people, but to actually just like to make people kind of fall in love with them in a way, while simultaneously acknowledging that this whole thing's really fucking kooky. Like this whole idea that we're having like a country gospel or a music, a Christian music convention where all of these people are coming together to listen to these things. And then when they would finally present, you would be like, oh, that's actually pretty nice. I think that's the best part about the story, is that you're watching these people as they're going to like a country, or not a country, a Christian music convention. And the whole time you're just like, what the fuck am I even looking at? And then when they finally do present, it's good. That's the best part, I think. That the whole time you're kind of snickering to yourself. These people are kind of weird oddballs. They're sort of like kind of weirdos that everybody would kind of be snickering at themselves. And then they would do what they would do. And you would be like, oh, that was actually good. Huh. And so in a way you would like fall in love with them at the end, I think. That's absolutely the story that I would tell. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I loved it, but was criticized for being a gay story shoved down throats. I thought it was a love story and men just happened to be gay. Which story are you talking about? I'm completely blanking on what this was. I feel like I'm missing something. That's not what happened. 10,000 Asgardians died in Ragnarok. Thor didn't save the world that time. That's true, Adam. Good to see you, by the way, bud. Make sure you hit the like button, guys. Make sure you hit the like button. The BOC storyline, it honestly was so touching. And then the Ranny quest and what happened to Blade. Yeah. Have you beat at a new game +7? No, shut up. Shut up. Shut up. I beat the boss. I did it. I don't need to fucking do new game whatever, okay? Like, no. I know that there is a type of person that's just like, I'll just keep playing this forever. Like, no thank you. Oh, The Last of Us. People say really nice things about The Last of Us. I've been hearing really good things about The Last of Us, so. Gurky Sigma coming in with probably one of the strongest comments I've ever seen. My grandpa was a Yugoslav partisan in World War II. He killed a lot of Nazis and monarchists. God bless your grandpa's service. God bless your grandpa's service. Like, this is the thing I love, dude, is I love it when people come in here and are like, the Soviets killed a lot of people, you know? Like, you mean a lot of Nazis, right? They didn't kill a lot of people. They killed a lot of Nazis. Eric, why specifically New Game +7? Why is 7? Why is 7 important to you? They made a Green Knight movie, though? Fantastic. I had so much hope for CDPR after the way Witcher's DLC was handled and then Cyberpunk released. I gotta tell you, I actually liked Cyberpunk. Like, I understand that people were disappointed, but I think that that's because the hype was here and the game was, like, here. And I never really let my hype get here. I was always kind of here about that game. And so when I played it, it was like, I played it and I got exactly what I thought it was going to be. You know? And then I heard people kind of complaining about it, and I saw what their complaints were. And I understand that there were like a lot of bugs for certain people. I never had any trouble with bugs, so like I was fine with that. And I don't know, like I played Skyrim, right? You expect certain things to kind of be a bit fucky, you know what I mean? Like you're never gonna get like it's never gonna be pure, like it's never gonna be that kind of thing. And it's and so I actually rather liked Cyberpunk. I thought that they did a fairly good job. I just think the hype was so big. Like the hype was way bigger than the game. And it was pretty obvious in my view. Ah, man, an arc like Jaime Lannister's in Game of Thrones. Yeah, except they botched it. Like, I don't want to talk about Game of Thrones, dude. Don't make me talk about Game of Thrones, please. Like, They fucked up season 8 so bad. Like, one of the... Like, I don't... Can I use the word betrayal? Is that a fine word to use? Look. The name of the piece is not Game of Thrones. The name of the piece is A Song of Ice and Fire. The prologue in the first book is the White Walkers. It is extremely obvious, structurally, embedded into the fabric of the piece, that the story is about the encroaching doom of the White Walkers and humanity coming together in order to defend itself and fight back against the White Walkers. That literally, book by book, season by season, events are happening, things are going on, and the White Walkers come forward. Things are happening, things are going on, and the White Walkers continue forward. Things are happening, things are going on, and the White Walkers storm the wall, break through. Things are happening, and the White Walkers march forward. And in episode fucking 2 of season 8, Arya just goes, boonk, all the White Walkers are gone, and then the rest of the season is just like, they fucked it up on the most possible basic structural level. You can go and find a behind-the-scenes reading of the final season where the characters, the actors, are reading the final script. They're doing a table reading, and you can see that the actors are livid. The actor that played Varys literally was bright red and livid. These people spent a decade of their lives on this story, and each and every one of them were systematically betrayed. Each and every one of them were systematically betrayed. Their characters became idiots, morons, lunatics, ridiculous caricatures, doing absurd, dumb bullshit. Like, Peter, Littlefinger, right? So he's finally got into a space where there's Arya, there's Sansa, and their omniscient, all-seeing, druidic brother. And this guy, having been instrumental in the death of their father, thinks that it's a super good idea to try to pit them all against one another, when they literally can just go to Bran and be like, hey Bran, what's going on? And Bran can go, Littlefinger is trying to fuck you all over. Oh, by the way, he killed our dad. That's your play, Littlefinger? That's your play? Varys, literally a spy master, trying to play the Game of Thrones for the betterment of the society, just straight up gets caught in treason. Just like betraying the queen, gets blown up by a dragon for it. Just like embarrassing storytelling. Just like the most embarrassing possible storytelling. And just the fact that they did away with they literally did away with the White Walkers. The White Walkers are the point. The Song of Ice and Fire. That you have White Walkers, Daenerys, the Seven Kingdoms, White Walker, Daenerys, the Seven Kingdoms, White Walkers, Daenerys. Do you see how the story is like, and instead of getting an ending where you, and I was saying this the whole fucking time. I said this in book 2, that the ending is obviously a fight at King's Landing between the White Walkers and the humans, where you've got dragons in the sky, wizards shooting fireballs, druids casting magic, the children of men wearing cool-ass wooden armor and shit, high elves doing like electricity magic, with Cersei going around with a dagger, paying some debts. And instead of that shit, we got this trash. There's a conspiracy theory that goes around that these guys, the showrunners for that project, their next project was Star Wars. So they were going from HBO to Disney. Game of Thrones is a major competitor to Disney. So that the theory is that Disney paid these guys off to fuck that season up on purpose. This is why we can't have nice things. Because we have capitalism instead. And honestly, if it all came out that those two guys got paid off to fuck that up, I'd be like, absolutely. I believe it 100%. Like, Game of Thrones is the show. It is the show that finally convinced me not to pay any attention to anything that's produced until it's finished. That if you guys are like, oh wow, I love season 1 of this and they're going to make another season, I don't give a fuck at all. 0% giving a fuck. I assume they will betray us. That is my assumption. That if they are willing to take a cultural phenomenon like Game of Thrones, literally our world championship winning basketball team here in Toronto, the Raptors, their slogan for a while was "We the North." Season 8 came out, and they abandoned it right away. Literally, Game of Thrones was a cultural phenomenon that was embedded in our culture, and Season 8 washed it away. Just gone. Because we all knew that they had betrayed us. And my assumption from that moment till today and forever is that until the project's finished, I'm not watching a minute of it. I don't trust these guys. I don't trust Disney. I don't trust HBO. I don't trust any of them. These people are frauds, liars, psychopaths, and worst of all, capitalists. Until your project's done and everybody is saying, wow, that was great, and I still see your memes around, and it's still part of the culture, I don't give a fuck. And neither should anyone else. These people are traitorous assholes. Stop watching Disney. Stop watching this shit. Don't get invested. Never get invested. Make them earn your money. Make them earn your attention. Make them earn your attention. Literally pay attention to a 12-year-old kid making YouTube videos about a video game that he likes. And if Disney comes out with a big thing, flip them off and tell them to fuck themselves. Like, our culture sucks. Our culture sucks so fucking bad. Going through this fucking Disney period where they've taken all of the good shit that they did throughout the 80s and 90s and then just vomit it back out at us in like a nostalgia porn kind of like, you want to see this done differently and again, don't you? Fuck off. Fuck off, man. And it's all so pathetically done. It's all so hollow. Like, it's all so heartless and just bereft of literally even, like, they obviously don't care. I remember when I finally sat down and was like, I've got to see what they did to Aladdin. Because to me, Aladdin was like, I loved Aladdin when I was a kid. I love Aladdin now. I literally wrote a sequel to Aladdin called Jafar, which is a Jafar redemption arc. That's how fucking much I love Aladdin. And I gotta tell you, that Jafar redemption arc that I made is the best story I've seen in 10 years. It'll never get made, though. It'll fucking never get made. That's how much I love Aladdin, okay? And it was obvious to me from the third scene, I think, maybe even earlier than that nobody gave a shit about that project. You could see the director. I have an image of the director looking at the dailies, like looking at the thing he just shot on the screen, cigarette. For some reason, he's wearing like a jacket that's got the patches on it, you know? And he goes, and he smokes, and he goes, good enough, move on. And that's every shot. Shot for shot for shot for shot. Every shot is just good enough, move on. You can literally see Will Smith, like, talking to his agent. Like, this is Will Smith the entire time. Yeah, so what do you got me signed up for next? Oh, we're going to do that? Okay, hold on, give me a second. And Alibaba sold it, cut. Yeah, okay, so what do you think? Like, that's literally the whole fucking movie. Like, the most embarrassing part about it is, like, there's sequences that call for pretty high level parkour, right? And, like, I understand that that's difficult to achieve, right? But it's not like Disney doesn't know who the best stunt team is in Hollywood. It's not like they don't have Jackie Chan's number. It's not like they can't just pick up a phone and be like, hey, Jackie Chan, do you want to put together a really sweet parkour sequence for an Aladdin remake that we're doing? Like, you're telling me that didn't cross their mind ever at any point? To just call Jackie Chan and have Jackie Chan put on some really sick, sweet shit. Nope. Instead, we got some, like, total fucking bullshit. Like, insulting. Like, insulting, man. Like, I'm just so... And then, like, Lion King, the live-action Lion King, which was just ass. Just fucking... Just looked like shit. I didn't even watch it. I saw one preview of it and was like, that looks like shit. And I was absolutely fucking right. That movie was trash. Like, F. Nothing redeeming. F. Did not pass mustard. Like, should not have been shown to audiences. Absolutely. It should have been shown to a test audience. The test audience should have said, that looks like ass. And they should have gone back to the drawing board. But they're not going to do that. It's just heartbreaking to watch them destroy my youth in front of me. Like, that's what they're doing. They're just taking my youth and saying, oh, do you like that? Pay us. Pay us. Pay us. Pay us. That we're paying them to do it. That's the craziest part about it. That we're giving them money to destroy their own legacy. Like, the most insulting one I think I've seen recently, and it is Pinocchio. If you watch the original Pinocchio, it is a masterpiece. It is an absolute masterpiece. This sequence with Monstro the whale. Monstro. This sequence with Monstro is absolutely beautiful. Fuck off with this. You know, like, this sequence here, drawn by hand, frame by frame, absolutely stunning, absolutely visually incredible. This whole sequence. And when Monstro's chasing after them, Monstro's fighting them, trying to destroy them. It's absolutely stunning to watch this. Look at how amazing this looks. Just look at it. And then the remake, the fucking abomination that was this fucking remake, is garbage. Literally trash. Fiddleford's catalog, good to see you. Strong first comment, bud. Just a nice hello. Lies of P is gonna be dope. I don't even know what that is, dude. Speaking about that, my great-grandpa fought in the Italian Civil War on the side of the communists. He killed a lot of fascists. Fantastic. Fucking fantastic. Like, shoot those guys. Like, there wouldn't be a war if not for them. I was told the live-action Lion King was made by black people for black people, and any criticism was white supremacy. That's their defense, right? That's how they defend it. That's how they do it. They literally create trash. They know they're creating trash, but they create a diversity squad. And so if you stand up and say this is trash, then they say you're a racist. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's one Disney film that I want to actually watch. There's one Disney film that I want to actually watch, but I'm just like dragging on it. And it's The Little Mermaid. I'm really dragging on it. I'm really, really dragging on it. Because anytime I look at it, I do think to myself, this doesn't look bad, you know? Like, this doesn't look like total shit. Although this looks like total shit. Like, part of the problem with like live action remakes of something like this is that you can never actually create the verisimilitude that's required. You can never actually trick yourself into believing that the real person and the fake bullshit that are around them are the same and are in the same universe. You can never actually get to that point. There is like a willful suspension of disbelief that you need to get in your mind in order to buy into the idea that that they are in the same world. Like, you can see the green screen. You know, you can see the green screen. That and you always can. Like, you know when you're watching somebody and they're on a green screen. Like, you know it. It's really obvious that you have to kind of lie to yourself. Verisimilitude, yeah. For those of you who don't know what verisimilitude is, because it is a bit of a $10 word, it's the idea that you can do what you like, you can create any rule set you like, as long as that rule set is consistent. So it's totally fine that Superman can fly, so long as Superman can always fly. That you can never create a problem that could be solved by Superman flying, but he doesn't solve it by flying. Because that breaks the verisimilitude. It breaks your own rules. And verisimilitude, I think, is an important word to use in the CGI environment. Because verisimilitude, like, there are films that break verisimilitude purposefully. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a really, really great example of this, where you have cartoons and humans interacting, but the rules of the universe is that there are living cartoons in Toontown and there are humans. And so that's a rule that exists. And so it's consistent. There is a consistency. But in the CGI environment, I am supposed to believe that this person, this human being, is the same as the fake CGI bullshit that's around them. And it doesn't actually work. It doesn't actually work. We can tell. We can see. We know that it's fake. We understand that it's fake. It's just in our... it's just in us to be able to see it. That you've got to kind of trick yourself and lie to yourself that, oh no, that person who's surrounded by obvious bullshit is, that's all the same. Like, that's why cartoons work. Because they're consistent. Right? Like, live action is consistent. Cartoons are consistent. But at CGI, a CGI film, like a Pixar film, is consistent. But when you take live action and put CGI beside it, you can tell, and they don't interact properly. That's why good CGI, I think some of the best CGI that exists out there is CGI that is added on to live action. So you think like Lord of the Rings. Like, Lord of the Rings was primarily live action, but the character like Gollum was a CGI layer on top of a live actor. And the reason why it worked is because he looked weird. That Gollum was supposed to look weird. And he was supposed to be off-putting. He was supposed to be strange. And the CGI actually helped with that. It made him stand out, and it made him look strange, but it still followed the rule set because he was supposed to be that way. He was supposed to be twisted by evil. He was supposed to be different. And so it ended up working. It ended up being something that was supported by the storytelling of the film. But Disney doesn't give a shit. Like, Disney's just jamming CGI right in your face and having actors like look this way while the action's happening here. They don't give a fuck. It's always just smoke the cigarette in the dust, good enough, move on. Because we keep paying them. We keep paying them. And I just don't even get it. Watch the Soviet Little Mermaid? Dude, what did you just say to me? The Little Mermaid Soviet? Dude, look at this. Is it... Hold on. Is this the one you're talking about? I mean, Ivan Aksenchuk. Bro. What are you even talking about right now? Hold on. Hold up. Wait a minute. Bruh. Look at this art. Look at this art. It's actually very beautiful. Dude, look at this. I'm already in love with this. Are you kidding me? This is the other thing that I really hate about this moment, is that no one is willing to like do like something that's actually artistic. No one's willing to do something like that's got this kind of thing. The 1976 one. So there's two, which is also hilarious. There's no way that you're talking about this live action one, dude. No, I call bullshit. I'm just gonna say straight out that this is probably bad. Right? Like, probably not good. Just gonna put that out there. Although this looks really fucking good. The live action one. Foolish little mermaid who'd melt into sea foam. Oh, did they actually tell the story? She like becomes sea foam at the end? I don't know, bro. Like, it's mediocre, but it's better than the Disney one. I just love the animation of this. I just love the animation. And it just seems to me that, like, there's not enough... Like, they're making really bold and interesting choices here. And it just seems to me like there's not enough of that that's going on. Where everything looks kind of the same. I think that's what I'm coming down to with this. Is that everything just looks kind of the same now. And it's all the same kind of, like, one note of, like, Pixar kind of CGI now. And if you do a different animation style, if you do something that's got its own, like, I'll reference my own script that I wrote, this sequel to Aladdin, this Jafar redemption arc story. Like, in my imagination, it's the same art style, that they use literally the same art style from the original. But I don't think they'd ever do it. They would never actually be like, oh, let's just use the same art style and actually make it like a true sequel. They'd have to, like, no, it's got to be live action. No, it's got to be CGI. No, it's got to be this. It's like, no, make it with the same art style. Yeah, the reason I'm into anime is they're actually trying to bring some good stuff. I mean, anime is interesting because they're willing to tell weird stories. Like, you think about, like, Death Note. Death Note's a weird fucking story, dude. Like, Death Note's the story of a death god that drops his book on Earth. A random human picks it up and then goes on, like, a killing spree, basically. And his journey through that killing spree. Until finally he reaches the end and then the death god reclaims his own book. And then returns from where he came. And the death god's whole position the entire time was, well, that was fun. I was bored. Like, that's a fucking story, you know? Like, that's a fucking story. And like, Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan is difficult to watch. And it's like, but the story is so intriguing. Like, the story of Attack on Titan, the reason why I don't think a Western studio would ever produce something like Attack on Titan is because it makes the humans weak. That humans are not the apex predators. It's the Titans that are the apex predators in the story, which is where the horror comes from, which is what makes Attack on Titan so effective in its horror storytelling and so difficult to watch and so difficult to engage with, because it's deeply unsettling being put into the position of being the hunted instead of being the hunter. Or like something like Bleach. Something like Bleach. Bleach is a weird one, man. Like, literally, like, there's a soul society, and, like, this guy basically goes to, like, it's not heaven, but it's like an afterlife of some kind. Like, the stories that are coming out of anime, or, like, some of the more popular, like One Piece. One Piece is a really weird story, man. Like, a really oddball world, a really oddball universe. Lots of weird shit happens in it. People love it. Because it's creative, and it's interesting, and it's doing interesting things. And what I really love about what anime does, and anime does this really, really well. Like, I've gotta say that this is certainly got to be cultural. Is that there's no such thing as a throwaway character. There's no such thing as a throwaway character in anime. That every character, if they have a character there, they let that character have their day and have their due. And they really believe, people who create anime and people who create manga and people who do that kind of stuff really believe that someone's gonna love this character. That maybe maybe most people will really find this character to be annoying or dismiss this character or any of that kind of stuff. Someone's gonna love this character. And there's just no such thing as a side dismissed character, where they just show up and say like "Waka Daka Duke Do" or whatever. Like, and if they are that kind of character that shows up and says "Waka Daka Duke Duke," then you get like a whole episode that's a backstory of why they say "Waka Daka Duke Duke," and then you find out like when they're first introduced, they show up and they say their stupid thing that they say, and it makes you kind of giggle, or it makes you kind of be like, ah, what an idiot, or something like that. But then after they tell his story, the next time he says Waka Daka Duke Duke, you find yourself going, oh, Waka Daka Duke Duke, man. Dude. That he's saying it to protect himself. He's projecting humor into it when he really feels deeply, deeply sad. Like, these kinds of things. Like, anime is like really, really good for this. And you get characters like Vegeta. Like, you get like Vegeta's like the original like Zuko. He's like this guy who shows up to destroy Goku and then becomes his like best friend. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. Anyway. We're well over time, guys. We're well over time. Always remember, each and every one of you is a quantum being walking around in quantum energy. These billionaires are spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the hopes you'll never realize it. You'll just stay the good little commodity they need you to be. Rebel. Revolt. Repent. Good luck. We're going to need it.